Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the April 19th meeting of the Hatfield Select Board. As usual, I will open the meeting by reading our public participation policy. I don't have a copy of it. I don't know why I don't have it memorized. Oh, here we go. Never mind. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. And as usual, our next item is announcements. I guess I would like to just say I hope everyone had a nice Easter, nice Passover, and it's spring, and that feels good. You said you had an announcement?
I'd like to thank the Hatfield Fishing Game for the fishing derby.
Oh, yeah.
They did a great job. A lot of kids showed up. They had a lot of fun, a lot of prizes, and I want to thank everybody that participated in it for the kids, for the town of Hatfield. That's all.
I guess we should mention, too, that the annual play is later this week. It's Charlie Brown, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And I believe there's still tickets available. So people who are interested in tickets, I'm sure you could call Smith Academy. Maybe there's some information on Facebook or other social media, maybe on the school website about that. So they always do a nice job with their production. So it'd be great to fill the house. Brian, do you have anything?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay.
Can you just remind everybody taxes are due May 2nd?
Taxes are due May 2nd.
Real estate and water and sewer.
Real estate and water and sewer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, very good. So then we can quickly approve minutes. We have some minutes here.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 22nd, the executive session minutes, and the minutes from a regular session meeting of April 5th.
I was not present for April 5th, so I will, maybe we should do it as two different ones, and I'm going to abstain from that.
Well, I'll second what Brian said on the approval of the minutes.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, but I'm abstaining on the April 5th vote. Does that make sense, Karen? Okay.
Public forum.
Oh, public forum. Is anyone here for public forum? We're not Zooming, right? We're not online? No. Okay, so nobody's here for public forum. So our first order of business is to head into a brief executive session. We obviously will return to regular session afterwards.
Yep. I'll make a motion to go into executive session and return to open session. Executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares.
I'll second that. Jaworski, aye.
Moriarty, aye.
Szynal, aye.
Okay.
Okay.
We will be right back.
Yeah, we'll be okay. We are back from our executive session. We'll get right back into our agenda. Our second topic tonight is we're joined by Bobby Betsold and Anna Holhut to talk about the proposed celebration committee. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, my friends.
So really briefly, we just want to talk on kind of two parts in relation to this. One, there's 3 articles that have been submitted by the 350th committee that deal with kind of closing things out and where we're at, both the financial side and also the committee and kind of the responsibilities. So we just wanted to briefly mention what those were and answer any questions in relation to that. So and I'm probably going to get these out of order, but I know it doesn't matter what order they're in. So the first one is, we had talked probably 4 or 5 years ago when funding was coming through about some of the funding that the town had provided to the 350th as seed money and the hope to return some of that. So there's going to be approximately $10,000 left in the town article related to that. So the article on that one will be to transfer the balance of $10,000 back to free cash, back to the town from what had been provided to the 350th for seed money. So that would be the first one. The second one will be to create a new committee that is kind of going to be a follow-on. So, we've kind of named it the Celebration Committee. What we've kind of done coming out of this is there's been several activities that people enjoyed that we want to make kind of an annual type thing, things like the park concerts and some others. So this committee will essentially take over that responsibility. And coinciding with that is the third article, which would take the remaining balances from the 350th donations account, which is funds that had come in through the fundraising, either through sponsors or through individual donations, and take that balance and fund a new celebration revolving account, which would be under the purview of that new celebration committee. The intention for that new celebration committee is both to manage those funds as well as to have the option to continue to fundraise and create a true revolving account going forward, ultimately with those monies being the long-term seed money for the next celebration. But along the way, being able to use it and do some activities for the town and that type of stuff. So certainly if there's any questions from the board.
I was going to ask about the ability to fundraise and put into the revolving fund, and that can be done?
Yes, yeah. So we'll have ultimately you have the ability to fundraise, expend out, as well as if down the road, there was additional town articles, then that could be incorporated as well. The goal is hopefully, though, that by doing this as a continuous effort, those monies are available down the road for the group to, essentially, again, be that seed money. So
I think it's great you're taking on this, because to continue this means there will be future events, there'll be future activities, and it'll benefit the town. So I want to say thank you for bringing this forward as far as I'm concerned.
I couldn't agree more. Sorry.
No, you echoed my thoughts.
I mean, the concerts in the park have been so great. People have really enjoyed those. I mean, Hatfield really enjoys coming together as a community, and sometimes we just need to give the opportunity for that to happen. So this is a really nice way to do that.
I think the other thing it does, like any long-standing committee, and I've been on a few in the past, but it allows you to keep having people coming in to become part of it, as other people have done it for quite a few years and might want to step aside. So, I mean, it keeps the spirit going for the future. So I think that's an added benefit as well.
One thing to note in terms of the funding to that revolving account, we do have in the language, and I know Marlene's going to work with town council to just make sure everything's fine with it, but we did put a stipulation in there that requires a minimum balance be maintained. And we felt that was important, since that's going to ultimately be the seed money for the next celebration. The goal is to grow that account, but we wanted to make sure that if we move on and the new group moves on and someone else, they can't just go spend it and all of a sudden there's no money left.
Right.
So there is a stipulation in there on a minimum balance that has to be maintained unless you are in the year prior to or year of an anniversary celebration. So essentially that becomes voided for the year of the 375th, essentially, or something like that. But,
understandable.
So we wanted to put some protection in there that all of a sudden it's not just, hey, let's go have a bunch of parties and the money's all gone and we move on.
So a couple questions, and Sharon, maybe you can pipe in. So let's just say, for instance, you decide to have an event that has an admission, like a drive-in concert or something like we did. So you could share an admission, if people pay $10 or $20 to get in, that money can be put in that revolving account?
Into the revolving fund.
So there's the ability to charge that way, to just, somebody could just write a check as a donation to go in there?
Correct.
Okay, so there's different ways to get money in there.
We've thrown some ideas around. We like the banners that we hung, so maybe try to do more banners in the future and hang them up.
Yeah, people liked that.
We're trying to jump ahead a little bit to get the concert scheduled. So we're trying to have 5 starting in May, going through September. And then we'll see,
Well, actually, that's really cool, the banners. So it's not just about celebrations, but it's just about community, nice community things that happen here.
Everybody did a lot of positive feedback with those banners on the polls. So
it's kind of what makes this town unique.
Yeah.
And so some structure to that is really great.
I just have a suggestion. So that use form that was presented to the board a few weeks ago for organizations that would be using the space. I'm wondering if maybe it might be a good idea to share that with
Oh,
them.
yeah, definitely. That's the
And-
park space.
Right,
Yeah,
for Smith
definitely.
Academy Park. So we have a use form that we developed.
So we don't double book,
Yeah, no, that makes
basically, is
sense.
what it's.
Yeah, and there's, some conditions, restrictions.
Yeah, it should be a part of the process is when that comes in before it's approved, it goes to the
Right.
committee.
Right.
It's a good idea, especially with outside people coming in, that's a good idea to have structure.
Joe?
Yeah.
So just a real quick question, Bob, does that have to be set up as a 501c3 or C9, or can it
Nope.
work on the
No.
town?
No, it'll be a town account. Yep, just like the 350th account was. The difference was, and I don't know how this all, because there were some changes on the accounts, but the way the account was originally set up for the 350th was an anniversary account, which that has certain restrictions. This creates just a general revolving account.
Right.
So we don't have any
Right.
restrictions on it. So this would be no different than, like, the Recreation Department had their revolving
Okay.
account to have fees in, donations in and out and all that.
So as so you could do fundraisers for
Yep.
this. I wonder though, Joe makes a good point, like if you wanted to do some type of raffle or something like that, you'd
That's
need a
different.
raffle permit. Then do you need to
Would
be a
need a raffle
501c3? Or can you do it as the town? I don't know.
What's that?
Like if they wanted to pull a raffle permit to do something,
They would have to get a permit to do that.
well, no, I know that,
Actually-
but I just pulled a permit and I think you have to meet certain,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know.
Lydia would know about that. You'd get it from
Yeah.
her.
I mean, like I said, we're trying to avoid, make it as easy as.
Yeah, I understand. I want to keep,
I know that the rec department, back when you were the rec department, they had done things like that, and they were able to do it even though they weren't a 501(c)(3).
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's
Okay.
stipulation there for
Yeah.
town type stuff.
okay.
So that is.
I just wanted to make sure you had the ability to do
And-
a variety of different fundraisers.
And there's also, and we ran into this with the 350th as well, so for businesses, there is a stipulation that is, it's the same criteria, it's just, I forget the exact verbiage, but if a business donates to a town, they get the same tax write-offs as if they donate to a 501c3.
Oh,
So
okay.
they still get the same tax benefits regardless of whether it comes to a town or comes to a
Oh, okay.
nonprofit organization.
Okay.
So Bob, is that true for individuals? Like, let's say somebody wanted to leave money in memory of their father, their mother, they can get a receipt from the
Yes.
town? Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay. Great.
Any
This
other
is going to be good.
questions?
Ed, any more questions? Yeah,
I
it's
just had
gonna be
one
great.
question, for more of a clarification. So are you going to be in charge of all the functions that take place out here?
No.
No.
Oh, all right. It was the way a question, I didn't think so, but I just,
Well, Bobby and I had a conversation
yeah.
about that
We're not gonna
last.
take
you're in charge of your own function.
Yeah, we'll certainly coordinate and
I get it.
scheduling
I just
and that
wanted-
Stuff, I know.
The way the
but-
the way I heard it was a little different, so I wanted to
No, I mean,
clarify
they're not
that.
going to be responsible for making sure the power is out there for other functions,
Yeah.
just that there's no conflict,
booking.
no scheduling conflicts.
Yeah, we'll coordinate on the schedule, and I think, Karen and I have been in contact as far as with the master community calendar, which I think is a great.
I mean, it
way to
makes
put
sense. I just wanted
You know,
to
and
clarify.
the COA's been doing their thing. I think,
Right, I was
part
just
of
gonna
what
ask about that.
Marlene and I were talking about, though, is that I firmly believe that ultimately probably needs to come here. If there's a private group, if there's a non-town entity that is having anything in that park,
Yeah.
it really should come through this board, because
And there are a couple already, the
Yeah.
local coastal council awarded
Yeah.
some funds to these.
Come through us, won't
yeah,
they?
because
Two
then you
of
get
them
into
already
liability
have.
and
Well,
all that different
one of the-
aspects of things.
One of the individuals representing Ken Longstreet, he lives in town, of course, but he represents, what is the Bad News Jazz group. He has already made a request and been
So
approved.
any use of it comes through us ultimately, like
Okay.
even the COA, right? We would
Well-
approve them using it, no?
Right, you should. Initially, when I had believed that, Bobby and Anna were going to be part of this committee, that the committee was going to oversee all use of
Nice try,
Smith
Marlene.
Academy Park, but.
Look at the two
yeah.
of them.
Bobby, you failed me.
I think there's a difference between,
Okay,
Absolutely.
But I mean, you gotta, and anybody that's not affiliated with the town, you gotta get certificates, and you gotta make sure that you.
right, insurance and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. So even though these other groups that have already received permission, it's a public event. Anybody can attend those two concerts. But one of them, they originate, they're not a town resident, and the other group, one member of that band is a resident of town. But yeah, that would be a public event.
I mean, there should be a certain set, you know, they have to have an insurance certificate and all this
Yeah,
other stuff,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, it should be a written application.
Yeah.
When you rent the pavilion, you have
And I think it goes by them just to make sure there's no scheduling conflicts, and it comes to us for
we have our
approval
dates, we have our dates already.
I'll send you that
on-
form.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, so
based on
Okay.
what they're providing us in terms of information about the event.
All right, just to be clear, then any other activities or events, such as on behalf of the Council on Aging or a private organization, would come before this board right now?
We have a
know-
differing opinion on that, but it should be all or nothing. I think, I don't want to be, personally, as a select board member, be in charge of approving or not approving an event next door. It's open space, it's a park, as long as they filled out the building use form and it's submitted, I mean, I have no problem reviewing it, but, you know, I don't know, I think it depends what the event is, I guess.
I think,
You know, to bring people in to say, yeah, we're having a 10-piece band there. It's like, okay. We don't need to see the person. I mean, just, you know what I mean? It's
don't
new, it's a
necessarily
new. The
mean they
form is
need
new. We
to-
got to figure out what the best process is.
Application process, I agree.
I don't, maybe they don't need to appear before the board, but it's just like it's like a one-day liquor license. I want to see proof that they've been in touch with the police department, there's a parking plan, they have insurance to cover everything, how are they going to get their power, all of that stuff needs to be there. I think
Bands
that
aren't
all
going to have
needs to be-
insurance.
I think
I
it
wouldn't
needs to
think.
be approved by the board. It's using town property. Under no other circumstances do we let people use town property without approving it. Right?
People use the ball fields all the time without getting approval.
Yeah, but
We'll take it up, we'll have a conversation about it.
Well, I mean, the rec teams that play
We
are
have
rec
20
teams through Hatfield.
There's pickup games that happen in the fields, in soccer and baseball, that they don't get
pickup.
permission.
This isn't just a couple guys going strumming a guitar there. I don't care if they do that. This is a formal invite people there. So I
especially
think
if
there's
it's
a
like if
difference.
people wanted to have wedding there, that's even more,
Well, that's different.
but yeah, hopefully that would.
That's why I think the form gets filled out by everybody.
Yep.
And, you know what I mean? But
you're
to
gonna
me, I
have
don't
to
think I need to
down.
approve a COA function out there on a Thursday afternoon from 1 to 2. So that's my opinion,
more
right?
I think the difference becomes, you know, and this is Marlena, if it's a town entity, then I think that's one side of it.
Maybe that's a
If it's
good criteria,
private
yes.
Organization, private, you know, whatever, then you're getting into, you know, you get some of the license, get some other.
Yeah,
Publicize, you know, what are they doing as far, are they charging, are they not, you know?
exactly.
that's all that.
Traffic, parking, there's a lot of issues around
You
that.
know, and the
so-
parking's one I know we've worked with, you know, with Bob every time we've done the ones, you know, because that's certainly something that, you know, we want to make sure everything stays open. I think it was the first one we had, and there was a call that came through, and sure enough, it was, you know, so things were blocked off and kind of coordination on those. So there are considerations that, you know, we've kind of learned in a couple of these now.
But once they build that, it'll be a work in progress.
I mean, right, we've got to figure it out
discussing
as we
it
go to some extent.
We'll figure it
but
out.
I'm just
I'm
thinking,
just
though-
not comfortable with big events there that haven't come before the board.
But they will have been submitted to somebody that we will identify in town to go over and review the use form for the property. My point is, I don't know what needs to be approved by the Board of Selectmen versus a town administrator versus the executive assistant. That's what we need to, in my opinion,
Yeah.
figure out. Yes, there certainly should be approval granted, it's just by whom?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't, you know, maybe one to look at is, you know, as far as the schools and how they handle their use of their facilities, because they kind of do this similarly for, you know, if a group wants to use the gymnasium. So,
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
is it the rec committee using it versus is it, you know, the book club's having a craft fair there, or there's a, you know, a karate event. So that may be someone to, you know, look and kind of see what's already being done there.
Well, I think oftentimes with the schools, because I've used it through the years, Bobby, is everybody fills out the form, and then it's a matter of, well, do you need a custodian? That's going to cost you. Do you need a this? Well, that's going to cost you.
that's what
Do
I
you,
mean.
you know, do you need or not need this?
Right.
Oh, you're a town entity? We won't charge you for the custodian. You know what I mean? So, but regardless, everybody fills out the form. That you got to, we all have to have that.
That the police chief is aware of this and has talked to them about traffic and parking, and I just don't see it as a big deal to get it approved by.
Bobby and Anna, any group you would be working with could possibly be an organization not originate from town, right? Could be a private
We're the
organization.
hiring organization.
Yeah, so they'd
We're
be
host
the,
of it.
they'd be
Yeah, so
the,
it's kind of
ho-
gonna be
okay.
under
they'd
the
be
town
a,
umbrella, because it's our
Okay.
event.
right.
Yeah, so we're okay.
So maybe you'd like to host any event.
We're good.
Or all the events,
Oh, that's what I
not
mean.
any event, all the events.
I mean, I guess we could overcomplicate it, but we are talking about issues of liability, issues of parking, issues of traffic,
Right.
noise, all of those things we have to be mindful of, and I just think there should be a process.
So their events, they take care of. The other events, we'll figure it out.
Yes.
So we are
In its
scheduled
simplest.
for the third Friday of every month from May through September.
Yeah.
That we have, and we will be publishing here hopefully in the next week or so, the bands for each of those nights. And the hope is to also have a food vendor of some sort with each of them as well.
That's
Kind of what we
awesome.
did for when we were doing it for the
Yeah,
350th.
that was so
We're just kind of
fun.
piggybacking
They were
it.
so
And
good.
those events are on the town's website.
They will be,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
yep. So we wanted to come
Is
here first. and
part
then-
of this-
but all those dates are open.
Is part of this maybe trying to have fireworks every luminarium too?
It's a possibility.
Possibility.
Yeah. We have to work with the fire department on that in terms of
Right.
making logistics and kind of scheduling going
Right.
forward. But
Okay.
that is one of the ideas that was brought forward.
That'd be great. Okay, well, thanks for doing it.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
We will have to make official appointments to that committee at some point, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Well, it's an article on the warrant to
create it,
establish,
okay.
to create it under the appointment by the select board.
Okay, so we are closing in on when the finance committee is going to show up, so let's get moving right along. Chief? Chief Flaherty is coming to us tonight to talk about a proposed training facility.
With me, I actually brought Captain Longstreet. He's kind of spearheading this project. We started looking at doing a training structure probably 5 years ago when we lost the old DARE building, and then we kind of lost the center school as a place to do our training. And we've come to realize we're kind of lacking in being able to do training because of not having a site. So I believe I forwarded the proposal to you guys last week, so you had a chance to kind of peruse through it. It's essentially, it's through the Fire Association is the one that's actually looking to do the work, and I'll leave the rest to Captain Longstreet.
Yeah, so Chief Flaherty touched on it briefly, but we really don't have anywhere that's that great to train. And then when COVID happened and we couldn't utilize some of the schools for some of our indoor trainings with inclement weather, snow, rain, stuff like that, you know, due to COVID, we were staying out of the schools. So that limited us even farther and kind of made us realize just how badly we need a training facility. And so the idea would be to be able to build a facility that's large enough and could also be multiple use so that our police department could use it to train, excuse me. We could help train other departments in the area, maybe host a Basic 6 class for Hampshire County that all new recruits go through. And so it would really provide a building and a structure that, you know, is something that we really need. So about 5 years ago, we started to identify different properties within town that the town already owned that may have been potential sites. And the one that really stuck out to us was the West Hatfield well site. It's the big field up on Route 5 that's been, you know, kept as a field and everything. But there's a portion of that that's actually outside of the restricted area for the protection of the well. So you can see in your packet, I think it's figure 3, we're actually, the area that we're looking to, you know, use for this site is outside of the type 1 and type 2 resource zones, which is the type 1 is the darker pink shaded, and type 2 would be like the checkerboard area. And then in figure 4, it shows the potential site of the actual building, which the building essentially is just would look like a normal sided house. It wouldn't be insulated or anything like that. It would give us the ability to move walls around on the inside, non-structural walls, so that we could set up different scenarios and so that the building's not always the same. And then down the road, as we were able to incur more funds, be able to have an actual live burn unit that would be there as well, so we could do some live fire training. And so it's an area that is out of the way. The building actually wouldn't even be visible from Route 5 from West Street. The only resident that would even be able to see the building would be the residents of 57 West Street, who we've already approached and talked to, and they have no objections with the building potentially being built out there. And we have every intention of landscaping the front edge of it, so that way, you know, some evergreen trees and stuff like that, so as it grows up, we can still keep the natural beauty of that field, since a lot of people like to walk their dogs out there and recreate. I know I touched on it in the letter that, you know, through some of the different things in town and the, I can't remember the name of the study, but we went through, there was a group of us that went through, and kind of one of the major things that we pulled out of it was that we need to start thinking about moving some of our emergency services and stuff like that out of the floodplain of the town. So this site would give us just that. It would give us a training facility that could be used for decades to come, and there's plenty of room so that if we want to add some things onto it, different props, different techniques and stuff like that, we'd have ample room. So I guess what we're looking for on the fire department and fire association side is that we would really like to take this project on as the association. So we're the entity that puts on the bonfire. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. So it would help allow us to be able to garner funds a little bit easier. People can use it as either people or businesses can use it as a tax write-off. We were hoping to get some of the building materials donated by different local suppliers. And so our hope was to be able to purchase the land, this small piece of land. It's about 1.3 acres from the town, to be able to construct this training facility, and then with the intent of selling it back to the town for $1 or whatever it might be, and donating the building to the town. So similar as to like what the association did with the utility truck a number of years ago. We bought that with funds raised from the bonfire,
Right.
and then donated it to the town. So this would be a similar situation. We would incur all of we would have our own insurance policy on the site while the building is being built. There would be no burden on taxpayers to build this building. The only thing at the end would be the utilities would have to get paid for after it would be donated back to the town, and then the town would have to take on the insurance after that. But pretty nominal things to ask for such a great facility. So
I like the idea. I think it's fantastic, and the proposal you guys have put together, I think it's outstanding. It'd be nice to have a facility like that for our department, so I can't speak negative of it. I only speak positive of it.
Do other local towns have similar types of things?
yeah, so the town of Granby has something that's pretty similar. It's out behind it's behind the high school, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a fairly similar thing. It's a small wood structure, looks like a house. Theirs isn't burnable. So they use it for different, you know, search and rescue, entrapments. We can use regular smoke machines to, you know, so you can't see. We can black out masks, stuff like that. So they have one similar. Sunderland has one that we actually do live fire in. That's owned by the Tri-County Tri-State Mutual Aid. Then there's a couple other towns in the area that have training structures, that are fairly similar to this. And, you know, better training is always a good thing, so.
For sure.
So I know you said it wouldn't be visible, but I mean, I'm assuming on training nights, there could be a lot of lights, a lot of noise, and then ultimately possibly smoke back there. I mean, what's the plan for that with the abutters there?
So the nice thing about this area, it's surrounded on one side by open field and the other side by swamp. So during, you know, summer and spring months, once the foliage comes out, it creates an even better buffer. And the wind there predominantly blows from the southwest to the northeast. So if we were actually down the road to be able to do live fire here, the very minimal amount of smoke that these training buildings produce would dissipate across the field. It wouldn't even be noticeable from even the residents on Route 5. The state and the NFPA really heavily regulate what we're allowed to use for live fire training, and it really doesn't produce substantial amounts of smoke, and it's a very, very thin smoke, and there's no toxic hydrocarbons or anything like that, and it's a wispy gray light smoke. in terms of lights, the being surrounded by the trees, you know, during the summer months and everything, really wouldn't affect any of the homes. Again, the only house that can actually see the site is 57. So the rest are either, like I believe 51 is impeded by their barn. 61, same thing. They can't see through the barn or the back tree line from 57. 67, same thing. Tree line is impeding it. So in terms of light, smoke, and even noise pollution, it's very, very, very minimal.
We're far enough away, and even on our training nights, it's from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. is the latest we would ever be there. And we're far enough out. So you got to make a lot of noise for somebody to hear us.
So I guess I'm curious about the need. I mean, I just have questions. I like that you guys are always proactive on stuff. But, I mean, we have the Massachusetts Fire Academy in Springfield. You can't access that?
Nope. You have no ability to use the Mass Fire Academy short of attending their classes, so it doesn't help for weekly training within the department. You can only attend their classes when they hold them.
And to piggyback on that, if we do attend their classes, it's then also a fee that we have to, pay for every member that wants to go. I've attended some. Chief Flaherty's attended some and helps instruct some. I'm now helping to start instruct some on the basic 6 side of stuff. And, they definitely have some good advanced classes, but it's not something that we can use
on a weekly
basis. And same thing with the one in Sunderland. It's not available to us on a weekly basis. It's actually Franklin County as well. We've been fortunate to be able to get up there a couple times over the 10 years that I've been on the department, but it's really, most in-house training is done in your own facility.
So now the road that goes back there, does that go between your parents and that yellow house?
So it's from the yellow house that's south of my parents,
okay.
And I don't know her first name. I think it's Osley, though, is the last name. But the road's been significantly improved since that's where Gielaher is using part of that field as their laydown yard for the project. And after speaking with Phil and Garrett, they were also inclined to, help us. The road goes out and then it really jogs really hard to the left and then hooks back around. We would just kind of be taking that elbow, if you will. So we would just straighten that road out a little bit, and they were in favor of that too.
My question, my point was the cars going down, both the apparatus going down on Thursday nights, and then I would assume that the trainees would go to that site, not come here. And
nope. The trainees would come
here.
Yep.
And everybody would go over in the apparatus.
Yep. So what we would do is same thing when we do any other training. We train the way that we're going to respond to a call. So in Hatfield, our firefighters come to the station rather than responding to a call in their personal vehicles. So everyone comes here. We do a quick debrief on training nights about what we're trying to accomplish for the night with different skills that we're working on. And then different people are assigned to different apparatus. We go out, we do our trainings, whether it might be drafting, search and rescue, anything like that, brush fire stuff. And then everyone comes back to the station after. We do a quick debrief, talk about what went good, what went wrong. Well, not necessarily wrong, but what we could improve to make the training better for individuals or for the department as a whole. And then people disperse from there. So all the cars would actually be here. The most influx you're ever going to see in this training site for apparatus would be probably 4 apparatus.
That would probably be high, yeah.
High, yeah. And so all of, in terms of any lights or anything like that, all of our trucks have onboard generators that we use for scene lighting and stuff like that, and they're extremely quiet. And, we can position stuff in a way so that even in winter months when the trees are bare, that,
Well, not only are you building the training center, you also funding it. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. What do you expect the cost to be, and how long do you think it would take you to fundraise that?
So we approached RK Miles and we used their design center, and they actually did a blueprint and a CAD drawing for us with full cut sheets of everything that we would need. And then this was pre-COVID, so the prices have changed pretty substantially since then. But we have, it was a rough idea in terms of everything soup to nuts from the ground up, from concrete all the way up to the roof, wiring inside for lights and stuff like that and outlets. So since there's obviously been a price change, they still have our drawing and everything. We can go back and get it requoted and stuff like that. But we were really hoping that we could, because it's a non-habited structure, we'd be able to use some rough cut lumber. So maybe approaching some local sawmills and stuff like that, seeing if we could get some rough cut lumber donated to help cut down the costs a little bit. And the same thing too, there's a lot of builders in town and different excavation companies and stuff like that who have expressed interest in being able to help us. So while there might be a large initial price tag on the building, we think that we can probably encumber at least 60 to 70% of this training building in donations, and then the association would be able to fund the rest of it out of our bonfire, from our bonfires. And then ultimately the hope would be able to turn it back over to the town within 5 years.
Okay, but you don't have like a general dollar amount of what you'd be needing to raise?
I would say safely between site work, being able to get power out there. We'd like to put a hydrant inside so that we can use it for training. You'd probably be in about the $200,000 mark.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring. Okay.
But we figure we can probably fundraise between in-kind donations and monetary donations. We're expecting to probably fundraise about 120 to 130 of that. And then the rest, the other 70, over the course of 5 years, we would be able to pay out of the revenue from the bonfire.
I mean, I guess I'd be interested in looking into what it costs to insure, like, I just want to make sure we know exactly what we're getting into here, what it costs to insure a facility like that, because it's not just like your normal little facility. The nature of the training you're doing and that sort of thing it's worth checking into. Sure. Because if we're going to assume the insurance for that, I think we would want to know sort of ballpark, maybe what Sunderland's paying to insure their facility or some of the other ones you named.
Yeah, we can get some comps on that together. That's not a
Yeah,
problem.
I mean, I would like to know that.
We can check with Maya.
In this case, it will be only the building, because the personnel, they're already town employees, so you're already.
Yeah, no, I realize that, but I mean, the building has a specific use that I'm sure an insurance company would want to know what the use is. Yeah.
But the association's paying the insurance, right?
No,
For the
ultimately,
first-
they want
So we
the
would
town.
For the first few years?
Yeah, we would cover the insurance while the building is being built. That way we could have we can hire our own contractors, or if contractors want to, donate in kind to be able to help build the building. So we would hold the insurance on it while the structure is being built, and then once it was completed, donated back to the town. Then it would become a town structure.
Okay,
Luke,
thank
do you
you.
already have an idea what that cost of insurance would cost the association?
It's an uninhabited building, so from what I understand, it would be fairly similar to what it is to insure like a shed, a building that's used for storage.
While it's being built.
In total, because it's a non-finished building. It's just a stick frame building.
Framed,
when you're
right.
inside.
But I mean, realistically, the activity that's happening inside that, I mean, I want to make sure that we're amply covered if there's an injury during training.
Changes the liability on the building itself.
Yeah, we should look into that. It may not. I don't know. I mean, but
At this case, like, we already do those trainings, so it would be similar in that case to what we're covering.
yeah, I just think it warrants looking into, that's all. So, okay.
Well, probably wouldn't cost as
Brian,
much
did
as
you-
it did when we had the building across the street that we were paying
But we didn't own
insurance.
that building.
Yes,
But
we
we
did.
also-
Well, that's true.
We also
did.
do similar
Yes, we
training
did.
exercises within our own apparatus bay, which
Right.
we'll pull all the trucks out, we do it there. We do, entrapment exercises in some of the mezzanine levels and stuff of the
Yep.
schools, anything like that. So we do utilize a lot of town buildings for our exercises already.
Right.
And we are all town employees as well, so.
Right,
that-
I think
I
that,
agree that it should be checked into.
Right, I was gonna
but
say to
don't really
Diana,
foresee it being a big
yeah.
hiccup.
the insurance company, I would imagine, needs dimensions and
Yep.
whatever it is they base their rates on. And then, yeah, I mean,
Brian, did you have any questions? I
no,
occupied a lot of time there.
no question. I just a comment. I think it was a great proposal and very well put together, so thank you for the time and effort, Luke. I'm not sure what the next,
together.
so I guess we're just going to try to get a little bit more information and fact finding, but, this is a great first step to get us rolling.
Yeah, so, I mean, on the GIS mapping and everything, we're far enough away from any of the wet sensitive areas to stay out of the DEP regulations. We're far enough away from the protected wellhead sites, so in terms of that, there's no special permitting as far as we know. We're going to check with Tony Listowski. We've already spoken with him, but he's just going to look into it a couple more times just to make sure the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and make sure that, I'm not overlooking anything on any of the GIS.
Sure.
Runoff from the burn stuff or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, even that is something that can be really easily mitigated. We could put a retention ditch around the outside and then a small dry well so that any water that would be produced would stay on site and then naturally filtrate back into the earth.
Is there any need to talk to the planning board about the use of the parcel?
Off
Might
the
not
top
be
of
a
my head,
bad
I
idea.
don't know.
Run it by Stephanie or something.
Or conservation, maybe you
Or
said there's some
conservation,
wetlands
yeah.
there, right?
We're far enough away to be outside of the conservation zones.
I would check, just so that you don't have any surprise. I mean, I'd hate to see you go part way down the road and then you run into that, something with that. Okay, good.
So you'll do a little of that research and then let us,
Yeah, I guess, so we wanted to come today so that way in case it was something that needs to be brought up at town meeting or we need to create an article that we can get on the agenda for it, because this is something that we're not trying to rush through it, but it's something that we'd really like to get a jump on and get started with. That way, we can get it done in a timely manner and everything as well. So we would ultimately like to start at least doing some of this. We have some money set aside to be able to start doing some of the site work and stuff like that. So I guess I can check on all of this stuff within this week, so I don't know what the next step is for after tonight's meeting.
I check with legal, right?
I mean, I think it's kind of rushing it to try to get on this town meeting, but I don't know how you guys feel. It's kind of a big undertaking. I know it's on the association, but and there's things we need to learn about it with, ultimately the things that will come back to the town.
well, I just think we need to get a few clarifications internally and then, but in the meantime, whether it's checking with the attorney, checking with Tony, I know Phil's already looked at it, looks like you already reached out to the building inspector. So you've already done a lot of the work. So I think if you could continue with what you said you would tonight, we'll do the same to make sure everything's lining up, and then we'll just kind of see if it all falls into place for town meeting, or if it's one of those, there's still some questions and we don't want to rush it just to get it through and find out, like Diana said, that, this is an issue type thing, so.
And it's not a bad, I mean, you could do the fundraising for it in the meantime if it had to wait to a different town meeting, no?
The only problem with that is like, we have the opportunity to incur some of the, the base materials for the site work at a very, at a pretty nominal amount right now.
Right, okay.
We have nowhere to really store building materials, so we can't ask for an in-kind donation of lumber or anything like that since we have nowhere to store it.
Right.
So to get the ball rolling on this, we just kind of want to be able to start doing the site work and getting lay the groundwork so that way when we're ready to ask for those types of in-kind donations, we have some more funds that we can kind of start getting the building up right away. But.
Okay. And then what would happen, so if we did this deed transfer to you and then you weren't able to raise the funds for it, you would just deed it back?
We would just deed it back, yep, correct.
Okay, well, we'll do our homework, you
done.
do yours, and we'll
Thank you.
revisit it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. We're running a little late, surprise, surprise.
We can
But
do these at the end.
Yeah, I guess we could do these things at the end. They're not going to take long, though.
No. The remaining items, DPW and town administrator.
You want to move through them real quick? And then we don't have,
Phil's-
we can,
Yeah, Phil
Okay.
is here to
Phil, you wanna-
respond to the water abatement.
Could I just do a quick thing on town meeting, or?
I mean, it's not on the agenda, Joe, and we,
Well, to
we're
discuss.
to discuss,
That's all right, I'll do it some other time.
Okay.
Why, is it timely? Does it have to be now? You mean the quorum amount?
Between that and the time of it, it's just a
Time-
matter of
yeah.
letting people know as soon as they can.
Right, there is a time,
Can we do it next week, or is
time.
it too late then?
no, we
Let's
could do
just-
it next week. We could do it next week.
Yeah, I just think it should be on the agenda. I mean, that's a
Town meeting
discussion that
warrant
warrants.
is on the agenda, but he's talking about.
Yeah, that's
so we're
something
talking about a
different. He's
time
talking
and
about
quorum.
changing the quorum and changing the time.
That, the quorum would need be.
The
need to be
time
referenced.
is on the warrant, and so if we want to discuss the time, it would
Can
be
still do
taken
that
up under the
later,
warrant.
right. The
but
quorum,
while he was
though,
here.
The quorum matter should be referenced on the agenda.
Yeah,
and
that's a
it's
big
not.
discussion, and
Right.
it's certainly not something we're going to run through quickly. Okay. All right, so quickly, we have this water abatement, Phil. Just looks like we have a malfunctioning meter.
Yes, we checked the meter was malfunctioning, so we replaced the meter, and we have the abatement in front of you.
So this is for 119 Elm Street, okay.
Correct.
And it's just a malfunctioning meter, there's nothing we can do about that.
So I'll make a motion to abate the $589.20 from the water bill and $1,120.80 from the sewer bill due to the defective meter at 119 Elm Street.
Motion made and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Personnel form, Marlene? I don't have anything in my packet.
We already signed it.
You don't have it?
Personnel form
This is
approval?
for a temporary seasonal employee, the highway
Is this what we
department.
signed? Oh, no, this was, what did we sign?
You said
We
you
don't need to vote
signed
on it,
one for
though.
the fire.
We signed one for fire, right?
I don't know.
Right, fire, you don't vote on those, the fire, but you sign off on the form.
Yeah, we don't vote on
The fire
these.
chief
I
has
guess
the
I did
authority.
see it somewhere in here.
But this does require authorization. This one here for the highway department requires
Okay.
authorization.
I
from
saw
the
it
select
somewhere. The second I got out of order here. Okay.
Another copy?
Oh, here it is. I found it. It was attached to something else. Okay, I mean, I have no problem with this. I don't know if you guys want to move it right to a vote.
No, did a great job last year.
Yeah, this is for
board. He's a very good employee.
Matthew Shippey, DPW cemetery work. Motion, anybody?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the wage salary, our request as presented by the DPW director.
Second that.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're moving right along here, Finance Committee. Marlene, can you quickly go through those three things?
I'll certainly try. The Billings Way license.
Can we just do those after our
We can do
meeting
them at the end.
Put them at the end. That's,
Okay.
I'm fine with that, too.
with the Finance Committee? Can we do those at the end?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, those items don't require the finance committee's
But we can have our
approval. Oh,
Finance
sure.
meeting, and then we can do the rest. Okay.
We can do that.
Yep.
Just in fairness to, we're already 15 minutes late.
Yeah. Okay, Finance Committee, welcome. Thanks for being patient with us. Sorry, I'm just getting myself organized here. Okay, so we are budget, town meeting,
What would you like to take up first?
budget.
Budget, okay. So, hello.
Hi,
you'll
Daryl.
Notice that Sean is not with us, but he's with us on the computer.
Oh, hi, Sean, there you are. And Lori's here as well.
And Lori, yes.
The town
Lori
accountant.
is joining us, so.
Okay.
So we met 2 weeks ago.
I got them.
With on the budget, and Marlene and her crew have done a lot of work. She met with, I know Sheen, Lori, and Sharon have been working hard at this, and I know Diane met with them last Tuesday, I believe. And so that's a great thing, and so I think we have some numbers in the budget, which I'm much more comfortable with than I was 2 weeks ago. So, had a brief conversation with Marlene this morning. I know prior to the conversation this morning, we had a deficit of roughly $700,000. And so, Marlene, do you want to talk about, did you tell, did I hear that correctly this morning, that it's a little less than that now?
Right, so.
May I make a comment, though, before we start? So it's not really a deficit in the sense of, as far as the budgets that have been proposed, it's $700,000 less to meet those requests.
We are 700,000 under.
Daryl, we've used the word deficit so many times over the last few years, I just wanted to make sure it was, you know.
Yep.
This is based on the asks.
Correct.
Yes.
Well, not really, because I have made some changes, some adjustments.
Right, we've made some adjustments. So why don't you roll, can you want to go through some of those now?
You can do. It is off. Oh, it was. Oh, it was. Sorry about that. It automatically did that. It was earlier. Okay. So Lori and Sharon and I spent quite a bit of time the last couple of weeks, looking at the budget, and even this afternoon. We still have some questions whether this is, and Lori, jump in anytime. Sharon, jump in anytime. Still have some reservations about the budget. But the changes that I have made to the budget currently is just a slight reduction in the town report. It's not too significant. Significant changes I made to the budget was a reduction of $2,000, reducing the audit line item by $2,000. Let me see, where are we here? But again, when you look at the difference, that's comparing it to FY 22. So initially, my initial request was $26,560. So I reduced. I looked back at the auditor's proposal for the next fiscal year, or for FY 22 audit, and well, initially I had $5,000 in there for the ARPA audit, and we're funding that from ARPA, so I had reduced that out of there as well.
Right.
The police department was requesting, let's see, this is 2% COLA. He's also asking for additional funding for 158 hours for part-time police coverage, part-time police officers. He'd like to keep that in there. So I reduced his requested by $3,002, which was the amount that represented the 2% COLA for all officers.
Right. That's sorry, because
okay.
that's one of the things that's missing in this budget is there's no COLAs.
Okay, so I was
There
going to say,
are no
okay,
COLAs
so they had a
added,
COLA
anything.
and other departments
Yes,
didn't. Okay.
Correct.
And
So we're $700,000.
So
You show them the first.
let's go back to the first sheet here.
You'll feel a little bit better.
So, but we still have reservations about that as of this afternoon.
I 100%
Yeah.
have reservations.
Yeah,
about
so
that.
this is the amount we're over the levy limit. It was 700, almost 707,000. It's been reduced to 224,328.
Okay, so can you talk about the reservations that you have with the number? Is it on the income or on the expense side?
Well, we believe it's on the expense side, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to speak to your point in one sec, but I'm going to backtrack. So one of the big differences that she took so that we can all talk on the same page is the 180,000, 181,000.
Right, I was just about to
fire
get to that.
department. That got taken out of the fire
Taxation.
department, out of taxation and put into free cash. So there's a huge number right there. So if you put that back in, you're at 400,000.
I did that today.
Okay, but wouldn't that be an ongoing expense? We wouldn't take that out of free
We're
cash.
not
so yeah, we
Okay.
let her go
Okay.
through
Okay,
and
sorry.
there was discussion
Yeah.
about whether we do a one-year trial, and so Marlene made the choice to move it. So in my mind, you put that back in just for conversation points. That gets you back to around $400,000. The difference between the 700 and the 300,000, so excuse me, 7,000 and the 400,000 is 300,000 for CPA money. Lori will agree, Marlene will agree, we've talked to death about this, and we need a little bit of guidance, because when Diane was here last week, we were at the 700,000 that you all knew. In our minds, free cash should be an offset of each other. Free cash comes in, not free cash,
CP.
CPA. Well, my brain is off today, I apologize. CPA should be expending their own money. We don't fund that from the budget. And I believe there's a formula in here that's not 100% right, that's bringing that number in there, because when we sat down on pen and paper and said how much additional expenses did we get asked for this year, we came close to 7. When you ask for the schools, 500,000, you ask for Bob's, you ask for DPW, you ask for all these different lines, that's where we kind of felt the 700 should be. We have reached out to Roselli to try to get some clarification from another source to prove that we're right or wrong in which direction. So she took, for going backwards a little bit, she took the money out for the ambulance coverage. That's up for conversation with you guys if that's what you want to do. I made a list last week that I sent to you all saying, here's some places that you could use some free cash or use other funding sources to deal with some of the overage. But I certainly don't get to make the decision. That gets to be you guys, as they were just suggestions.
So what did you do with the extra interest payment?
So that is still in there.
So that is,
still in there?
that's still there. We haven't touched.
Not exactly. So there are a lot of moving parts to this that I feel like you guys need to go through, and then we'll get the clarification on this moving 300,000. We pinpointed what it is. We just haven't pinpointed that. I want someone to tell us that we're right. You know what I mean? Just because we looked at there's 2 places to look. What we did when Bay State was here, but we know we had some accounting problems there. So Marlene went and did her due diligence and went back and checked on budget worksheets from before Bay State was with us, and she's pretty comfortable that we are reporting it right, but it's this one moving part that makes the swing of the $300,000.
Which would be 300 added to 224 is what you're talking about.
Yeah, so if you do 224 plus the 180 for fire.
Not the 180, just the 300,000. So that's what you're talking about.
That's where you get to your 7.
I understand. Yeah. I'm just asking about the 300,000.
But I mean, CPA funds
should be a wash.
It should be a wash.
Yeah.
Exactly,
It's
and that's
money
why
in,
I'm
money
hesitant
out.
to say that I trust this. I mean, Lori can jump in if she wants, but it should be, you have to report the expense, because we are using CPA money for a variety of proposed to use CPA.
But there isn't a way to show it on the
There is.
income
so
side?
You can see
It
on
is.
So you can
tab
see it
3.
on the income, but then it doesn't come up.
Yeah, so in other words, up here at the top, community preservation funds,
Right.
$324,000 is estimated receipts to fund the CPA budget article that they have. And then if you scroll down to other available funds,
There, you just went by it, I think.
did I go by it? Right here, community preservation reserves, $685,000 is for the projects they're supporting. So that is available. That comes from the reserve. That's available money.
So there's $1 million of expenses that they have, and I'm just hesitant about that 300,000 on the top, because we're not quite sure. Like Diane will speak to it. We proved the 700,000 the other day. So why all of a sudden is that 300,000 now saying, oh, it's affecting this number?
So the 300,000, the CPA money seems like it's some kind of formula problem. We know that it's CPA funds that we expend. It's not town, I mean, it's a town fund, but it's not town funds within the scope of the normal operating budget or free cash or whatever.
So essentially what we did was we removed all CPA numbers from this just to get it off the
right.
Yeah.
And your 700 showed up. So
and that's what we came up with when we were pen and paper of 700.
And when you think about the 700, so if you did it on the back of an envelope, right? You would take our current budget, you would add approximately $300,000 and 2.5 and whatever. Then we're gonna add 450 from the school, 180 from the fire department, 198,000 for extra interest payments and et cetera. It's some of that's on on the sheet over there.
Added costs.
So when I saw the $700,000 number, I was like, yep, okay, that makes sense. Because that's been one of my struggles is how can we be asking for all this additional funds? And I still look at this and I say, and then still we're only at $224,000 over or under the levy limit. So something still doesn't make sense.
To your point, one of the things the way that we have done the budgets in the 5 years that I've been here is that we've started with level funded and then added the expenses as we did, where this year we put in the all-in ask ahead of time.
Right.
So if that's what we're doing, which is fine, that's just going to show that we've added all these things. So the discussion points are, we need to get the answer to this, and I wish that I had it for you today, because part of me just wants to sit here tomorrow and do this by hand so that I can find the problem, and I just couldn't do that before tonight.
Right.
Because or prove that I'm wrong. I'd like to be wrong and be the number really be what it is, but I can't say that I'm confident in that yet.
So if I may.
Absolutely.
And so I think some things that we can talk about tonight.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. What can we talk about tonight?
I think we still have free cash money available, and I know we made some commitments to spending some free cash last week, but we can address some things. So a couple things. One is the $198,000, which is a one-time extra interest payment because Sharon is doing.
We're getting bonds.
We're getting bonds. So I think in my mind, we can make that a justifiable free cash expense.
It's anything one time, I'm comfortable having that discussion.
So I and then so that's the interest payment. Now, where it gets a little bit tricky, so let's talk about the fire department and their request, fire ambulance. That's $181,000 in quote-unquote new monies. And I did happen to be able to sit down with the chief last week, and I know he's talked to you guys, but we can talk about using free cash for that because maybe it's a one-time expense, but we don't really know what the numbers are going to look like until Bob has a full year of full coverage. So at this point next year, or hopefully before that, the chief is going to have a really good idea about whether this works. Now, a couple of things that I think are good about it, all these shifts that he's filling are per diem shifts. So yes, we're paying per diem, but it's not like we're hiring a permanent full-time.
So even the regular evening shifts are all going to be per diem, the weeknight?
Right? Did I have that correct?
You're right on. The goal would be is to fill all the positions with per diem EMTs.
Okay, so which gets because one of my concerns was if we do this as a trial for 1 year and it doesn't work, now you have unemployment costs. But if they're per diem, you don't. Is that right?
Correct. If they're per diem, nobody's going to work a set schedule, so there would be no unemployment costs, or there shouldn't be any.
Because that was going to be my concern with doing it for 1 year.
And just and Bob, you can help me with this. And one of the reasons I met with them is because I was like, okay, what are our other options here? So, and we had talked like South County, Northampton, and it's my understanding those are not really options, that all the surrounding communities are struggling with this in one way or another. Northampton doesn't really have enough coverage to cover the town, the city of Northampton.
Correct.
So for us to go, for Bob to say, hey, Northampton, do you want to help us out? That's probably not going to work. Same thing with South County.
They would help, but there's going to be a fee associated with it, plus no revenue. And I got a letter today from Division Chief Lemberg. They will also take all of our equipment and all of our current ambulance if this was to take place. So that is their proposal, is that we take your truck, we take your equipment, we take your money of a yearly contract, and we take all your ambulance receipts.
Right, so
Money would constantly be going out and nothing coming back at all to the town. So you're still paying something at that point.
Yes.
And then South County was even, they were going to be in about the 2 to 210, 215 range.
And you add time.
Huh?
And you add a time to response.
Right. That was not, neither scenario is putting a truck in Hatfield.
That's my point.
And it doesn't guarantee us. So if South County or Northampton is booked up on calls,
yeah,
doesn't guarantee that they're coming to town.
Right.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I do want to clarify, though, that it is, even if they are per diem, if they are employed the way that unemployment now works, that even our part-time police who do not work fixed schedules, we are still being hit with some of those unemployment, even no matter how hard I fight them to say, oh, they're per diem, they're this, it's not a huge number, but there is some cost to that.
But there's no benefits,
but there's,
right?
When I did my proposal, I was not led, because I was just misunderstood. I put in that he was gonna do full-time people. So I put an asterisk on my insurance that if he did full-time, I would need more money for health insurance. If he can fill it all with per diem, then the health insurance, that part of it goes away. You know, there'll still be the asterisk for Phil gets his person, you know, the DPW position for that one position. But if you don't do that, you don't have to worry about those health insurance costs.
Right.
what if you can't fill it per diem?
It would ultimately revert back to what we're currently doing.
Yeah.
And this is the conversation I had with Daryl, is to try to find an alternative funding source as a 1 year. It's a trial. Like, it buys the town time to come up with a permanent funding source, if that's how it works, but it also gives us the time to be able to actually look at the numbers. As I presented to both boards back in December, you know, we lost revenue last year. So the 180,000 that I ask right now would potentially be offset by, at least based off of looking over the last couple of years, about 60,000 in revenue being coming back. But because I don't have anything to go by to pull any data, it would require a year's worth of trial to determine how much revenue would actually come in. Everything right now is on a projected revenue and projected what we lost.
And
for 21.
Call volume is different every year, and
Correct.
I mean,
we are continuing to trend at an 8 to 8.1% increase on the ambulance side, even through today.
And that's in volume or?
Volume.
Volume.
So, yeah, so those are two things, and I guess the third thing in some of these with free cash that I would like to bring up, and you've heard this from me before, is if we're going, there's some other suggestions that I know that were on the email from Sharon or Marlene about how to address this and using some free cash money to do it. I would think if we're gonna think about this more, I personally would like some sort of commitment that in the first of this year or this next fiscal year, that the town goes for some sort of budgetary override, because these will become, this will become a permanent part of our tax infrastructure, right? I mean, we have big choices, and I don't want to speak out of turn, Mr. Wood, but $450,000 for the school, yes, that's a lot of money, but it is my understanding that any money taken from that is going to be personnel. Is that a fair statement? Cutting classrooms, cutting services. So, you know, that's a level service. So I struggle with that. I struggle with the fire department thing. And so, and the planning board, you know, their request, I think it's $11,000.
11,500.
11,500. They've been asking for this for a long time. You guys have just instituted you know, started the master plan process again. That seems important. I know Phil is looking for 2 full-time?
Half.
Huh?
I need half the money.
You need half the money. So Phil is looking for money, and again, it's all about services, and, you know, because it's my understanding that there's times in the summer where it's Garrett and one other guy and the other guys, and it's not their fault, it's just the way it is, they're on vacation, so what can you get done? So at some point, we as a town have to think about, you know, what kind of, you know, what kind of services do we want to provide to the townsfolks? And we've never, in my life, I'm not aware of a budgetary override, but we would have to take some time to really think about how much we would want to ask for, and, you know, then you'd have to sell it to townspeople.
Yeah, I would agree, Daryl. I mean, we've used a lot of Band-Aids through the years to get through these budgets. We've been unable to offer on numerous occasions sufficient raises and salary increases to our employees. You know, I mean, we're actually in a pretty good spot this year, even though we're showing a little short right now. I mean, but it's not every year we get $1 million in free cash.
Right.
So.
Or ARPA funds to
In the
bump off a
ARPA
bunch
separately.
of capital programs.
So I would agree, and I do think that we're probably at that point where the residents are going to need to make a choice to keep this type of service, A, B, C, and D. This is what the override's going to cost.
Right.
What do you want to do?
Well,
I mean, we can only do what we can do, the 8 of us, right? I mean, that's all we can do, and then ultimately it's up to town meeting and up to the townspeople at an override, so.
Well, and I've spoken to this before about, you know, living within the, who's making noise on? Sean, you want to put your mic on mute? I don't know if it's you or not. But I mean, we live within the, you know, the confines of 2.5, and as Brian said, and we've all sat at this table for years at different times and different capacities. You rob the cookie jars, you kick the can down the road, you do all that stuff, and at some point it catches up to you.
Right.
And you do have to, if you want to provide, you know, level services or an increase in a department that is providing important services to townspeople, then maybe you have to go and ask what people want to do,
Right.
because it's ultimately townspeople's money and their decision about how we work this. But and then you just present, you know, the facts about what it is if you don't get the money, or the services you're going to get with the money for the fire, you know, that sort of thing. So you can only work so much magic with these numbers.
And we haven't talked about COA as proposed a part-time position, or, you know, for $15,600. They've been looking for money for this type of thing for a long time.
Again, a department that's growing its programs,
Yeah.
with serving a population that's growing.
Right.
We're all getting closer every day.
Yes, right. And, right. And in all this budget that we've talked about, we haven't really addressed COLA. And we're in my opinion, we're in a job market now where people are leaving left and right because they're finding jobs where they're getting paid significantly more money, and we as a town have to be willing to.
I think there's also been a general feeling in town, among some townspeople, maybe not all, that, you know, that maybe positions are overpaid, or we pay too much for this person or that person. And the reality is we don't pay too much for anybody in this town. You know, we do lose people to other communities, we lose people to the private sector because we don't pay enough. And so to me, employee retention is really important, and pay is going to be an enormous part of that.
Right.
If not, you know, it's the deciding factor of why most people change jobs.
Right. So, you know, and I don't know Sharon and Marlene and Lori and Diane, if, even if we took the interest payment out, that's $199,000, and you take the fire department out, that's, between the two, you're at close to $400,000, a little under.
So Marlene's sheet currently already has, excuse me, the 180,000 for the fire department.
Out of the fire
Right, I took that.
If you go to budgets, Marlene,
Yeah.
and you go to, I just put a placeholder in there just because I'm running the same thing on my own laptop.
Yeah, what line number is that?
The fire department one?
Oh, for the fire department, I thought you were talking about the interest.
Well, so I just went in and I used line, I went to F194, and it had the $10,000 in there, just to make the numbers work. I put 198,000 in there as a negative, and just to see what the number would turn out to be, and it puts you only $20,000 over if you trust the front number.
So why
I
wouldn't
I didn't follow that
Highway garage
whatsoever.
repairs?
Yeah, I just used it as a template, a place to plug in a number.
Oh, I see.
Did you
You have to
already?
go change all of the interest lines for real.
Oh,
It's all broken
Okay.
down, it's
It's
never
all-
one.
Oh, I thought it was one,
you.
I'm
Not one
sorry, I
line,
didn't
it's- 'cause
realize that.
I put it detailed, so it says,
Okay.
fire truck, all the green ones would have to be taken off.
Okay.
So just for discussion point,
I
I
see.
picked that one and I said, okay, if you put a negative 198 in there, then you go to the front page, it brings you down minus 198,000. No, I put 1 million, so hold on.
So, but getting back to the things that you pull out, maybe put on a debt exclusion, if you do the fire department through the free cash, then that's not part of that debt exclusion. So then if it's a successful program and we want to continue it next year, we'd either have to somehow find the money or ask for another debt exclusion for it.
Yeah, but the debt in my mind, and maybe I'm not thinking about this correctly, I'm thinking about, you don't do a debt exclusion until the fall, till the election that we have in November.
Right, but you still wouldn't know by then
Yeah, but if we can make this budget work for this year, what we're essentially doing is preparing ourselves for next year, right? Does that make sense? You know?
well, no, I mean, the school needs, that 450,000
No,
for.
the school's budget is in here.
If
The
we
money,
use
the
this
money
budget-
for the school is in here.
Oh, okay.
If you
He's
use
saying we
this sheet
prepared this
right now,
budget,
and
yeah.
you take out the 198,000 for the interest, and you end up with the orange boxes, we like to call it, with a negative 16,000.
Right, and we have other free cash money that we can use.
Well, there was a conversation about some extra money for line painting and things like that.
Right.
Oh, yes,
So I have,
right.
so highway department budget has, I've cut that by 8,000. That's half of the 16,000 that was new money Phil's asking for line painting.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, did you had a conversation, we had a conversation this morning about,
Additional funding.
Yeah,
grant?
167,617 in winter recovery funds. And line painting can be, that's an expense that.
And we talked about, what
could be
about the
covered.
Raymond Avenue?
So Phil, yeah, the Raymond Avenue project, you want to do some drainage work there?
And we've got that in free cash already.
Right now, it's coming out of free
So,
cash.
and I know there's been a concern about interest in buying the pipe now. And my question is, can we use that same fund, that same part of that 160,000 to at least buy the pipe for that?
Well, we have to appropriate, Lori, if you can weigh in here, but that $167,000 in winter recovery funds, we would have to appropriate that money for the proposed project on Raymond Ave. Is that correct?
I wasn't sure, and I asked DOR, and he wasn't sure, and he said he would get back to me, and that was just this afternoon. So
they're.
I'm guessing it's going to be like chapter 90, because that's what they kind of related it to. So
Okay.
it would go in, and you'd have to appropriate
Great.
it. You'd have to have town meeting appropriate it. They could probably just appropriate the total amount.
Right. That's what we would
They
do.
do for chapter 90.
So what about ARPA funds? The Raymond Ave drainage.
Well, and what we're looking, and Phil, you can help me out, it's $10,000 to purchase the pipe, correct? Correct. And they want to purchase the pipe now because they're afraid that if they don't get it now, if they wait till July, they're not sure they'll get it in time.
Well, you may not get it in time if you buy it yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? It's a gamble and either way.
Well as anyone that, everybody's budget comes out in July, so that's when all the pipe orders are going to go in, is in July, especially with this supplement money, because these monies are just like a chapter 90 funding, so you have to put in the request through DOT to get approved to use that money for the pipe or whatever.
Right.
Or if you just bought the pipe now out of the ARPA funds, at least you would have that.
Well, why are we not talking about ARPA funds for this?
Well, that's a possibility, and finance reserve.
I was just gonna say, you
Was-
have
was-
$80,000 in finance reserve.
And Sean, maybe you can chime in on this. My concern with finance reserve is, does Garrett have to first spend out a budget before he can appropriate until we can?
There's a lot more in ARPA than finance reserve.
It's a little weird, Daryl. I mean, we've sort of done that, where we've sort of said that before, but then sometimes we haven't actually done it.
Right.
Like when we bought the safe.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
We just kind of.
That's right.
Like sometimes it's hard to do that sometimes, hard to make that work.
Right.
So we just have done it. I mean.
And we haven't really gotten in trouble for doing it, and really the reason for doing it is we want to get the pipe and we need to fix the drainage.
And what's left in the ARPA funds right now?
I don't know.
Lori, do you have the balance in ARPA funds available?
Well, when all the expenses that you've approved are not in the number she's gonna pull.
I thought it was only like half of them that had been, unless
You
2
need
weeks
your
ago
sheet
you
that
did
shows
more
what
when I
you've
wasn't.
approved for
Well,
those projects.
I get that from her.
And here's the thing, if we can do it in finance reserve, I'm fine.
We have a lot of money.
Yeah, we have a lot of money, and I'm fine with doing it in finance reserve because it's $10,000. It comes out now. If that $80,000 that we have in finance reserve, we don't spend it, and I'm not saying we're gonna need to spend but it would fall to free cash and wouldn't be, so anyway.
So that's just something you vote on tonight, on the finance reserves, and just, he can buy the pipe?
Probably next week. We need an official request from the DPW in order to do it. But, when we meet next Tuesday, we could do it through finance reserve.
And then what about the other cost of the project? Where's that coming from?
That's free cash. We approved
Okay.
that last.
Oh, so I was not here 2
I'm
weeks
sorry,
ago,
Diana.
so, okay.
Yes. Last week, one of the projects we approved was through free cash was the Raymond Avenue. That's
Yeah,
what.
that's been added, yeah.
How much is that project in total?
It was 110 total.
110.
10, yeah.
So you approved 100,
No, we approved
110.
110 last week.
so but the 110 didn't include the pipe?
No, it did
Yeah,
include
it
the
does.
pipe.
Does include the
Okay,
pipe.
but you're just getting them the money ahead of time?
Right.
That,
Yes, so they can order the pipe now and not have to wait till July 1st.
okay, so then what actually came from free cash would be 100?
100,000.
Yeah,
Okay,
Reduce
right.
that.
okay.
Yep.
So of the total 971 of ARPA funds, we have appropriated 720. So there's 250
Okay.
remaining unencumbered.
Wow.
So I would,
That's
Not
it.
much.
I would suggest that we
25%.
wait until, because we'll get more ARPA funds. Aren't we supposed to get more ARPA funds in maybe August, Lori?
Yeah, but that's already included in the
That's
971.
included in this.
It's included in the
Just comes in
total.
4 lumps,
Comes
4
in
lump
4
sums.
lumps. Yeah, so we should hold off.
So we might want to hang on to that,
Yes,
because we don't
Yeah.
actually even have some of that in hand yet.
right,
Right,
yes,
right. We didn't spend any of what we don't have in hand yet, but
right.
I'm watching it.
You don't want to.
Right, I'm watching it.
All right, so Phil, you'll get us something for next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Rest
Yeah,
of
that covers that.
finance, you guys, you're okay? Yes,
Carol,
John?
can I just bring up one other point, just going back?
Yes.
Just to pay attention to this, because I know I talked about it before, but Sharon just sort of in her head there brought the number down to around 60-something thousand
16.
under. Is that
One
right,
six,
Sharon?
1 6, 16,000.
16 under.
Oh, over the limit or under the limit?
Under.
No, over.
No, over.
Yeah, I
Over
thought
the
it was
limit,
over.
so
Yeah, I thought she meant
in
over.
deficit
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah.
In
Right,
deficit.
and that, so part of what's affecting that number is that you're essentially leveraging 65,000 out
Right,
from last year.
yes.
Because you left 65,000 on the levy last year, and I'm assuming this proposal is nothing.
Right.
The way that
So, I
they
mean, you're
calculate the
kinda-
levy limit every year is got nothing to do with how much was spent.
But we left, I think what Sean's saying is last year, we left 75,000 or 65,000 on the levy limit. So technically, that money is available money that we could spend going forward,
Wouldn't
Is-
that be
Which we are, sort of.
which we are spending.
Lori, do you agree with that? I don't think so. If you didn't
No.
spend,
That's my
I don't think it's as simple answer as that. But
That wouldn't have rolled into free cash
well, it rolls into free cash, right?
as showing money that hadn't been spent? Or, well, it wasn't, right, it wasn't towards anything, it was just an
It
amount.
rolls into free cash, it doesn't roll into free
Yeah,
Right,
it doesn't
because we
roll
didn't
into
collect
free
it, we didn't
cash.
collect it.
No, it's levy.
It's just-
Right, it's the levy limit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not just
But
dropped
regardless
to this year.
of where the actual money is, all I'm saying is last year you had a $65,000 placeholder in the budget that now you no longer have.
Right.
So if you want to put in another $65,000 placeholder this year,
Yeah, you're
you
minus
have to
81.
find the $65,000.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying. If you want to be below the levy limit again, you're not
no, we'll have
taken
to,
up to the limit.
we will have
I'm
to,
not suggesting we have to do that. I'm just saying that, there's been discussion that DOR likes that, and so we've done it the last couple of years. But right now, the way I see the budget sitting, you have 0.
yeah, Right.
We haven't talked about where we would get the money if we want to go below the levy.
right. Well, pretty much the only place we have to get money right now is from free cash. That's our only
Or-
choice.
That's
Or,
not,
yeah, or for making cuts.
no, well, not
Or,
necessarily.
or making cuts, or
Well,
deciding we're not gonna
Not cuts
spend.
necessarily, but not, if you don't give COA their position, you don't
Yes,
give.
right,
Right.
In a cut, you're just not
Right,
giving.
you're
Right.
suggesting cuts to where we currently stand.
yes. And
And
go
do
ahead.
I understand that none of this number doesn't have COLA for,
Right, there's no COLA.
there's
Has
contracts
contracted,
being
it has
negotiated,
contracts.
there's,
The contracts are all but one are in there. That part is in there,
But the
There's
rest-
numbers in there for those.
but
Yeah.
not the
Okay.
COLA.
But
There's
not,
no
not the
COLA.
But
COLA.
not the
So
COLAs.
we need to address COLA. We need to, and I think we want at least $50,000 or $60,000 over the levy limit, because it gives some flexibility when they're doing their work in the fall, the cherry sheet and all that. So if something's a little out of whack, you have some flexibility. Am I right on that? So, because
I mean, we've been all over the place on that, Darryl. Like,
Right.
we've been as low as $1,200, $500 under the limit to, 2 years ago, apparently we were 75,000.
right. Well,
I mean, obviously, they would like you to have money in there because, you know, if something happens and revenues don't come in the way you think they're going to, then you have cushion.
we have some cushion.
But, I mean, we've dealt with that in other ways, I guess, in the past.
Well, and
Probably with free cash and prior year deficiencies, essentially.
right.
We've had deficiencies and we've used free cash to fix them in the next year.
And I guess part of what I'm thinking is I don't want a scenario where we have to go back to have a special town meeting to correct some budgetary issues, which we, right? I mean,
No.
didn't we once have to do that too, maybe a couple times? Because, so that's why I like, it'd be nice to have a little bit of flex.
I think we only did that, Daryl, in the era of bad accounting results.
Yes, that is very true.
I don't think prior to that ever really happened. We were able to fix it, you know.
Right. Right. So I guess that's part of the discussion is where do we want, what's our goal for how much, you know, over the levy we want to be, and we should talk about COLA, you know, I mean, because that needs to be put in. I think Sharon, you gave us some numbers on that.
Yeah, but I went and worked on the numbers some more to get them more realistic, scrub the numbers. So if you do a 2%, it's 38,724. Maybe I should just round up. 2% would be 39,000, 2.5% would be 48,000, and a 3% would be 57,000.
And that includes what town employees? Everybody?
Everybody that's not contract.
Non-contracted.
You know, it even is because I have plugged some numbers in because I know DPW is in negotiations, so I plugged some numbers into that number.
But what about the schools?
The school takes
School's
care of their own
Okay.
negotiations, so I don't.
No, I understand that, but where does their 2% show up? Or their COLA show up? In your budget?
In their own budget.
It's in there, that number's in there?
Yeah.
The projected, okay.
So I brought that, then we had three or four conversations last week, was the COLA, then we talked about taking the minimum wage increase to $14.25, that's $900. That's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
If we want to take the minimum wage for the couple positions that are affected right to the 15, so we don't have to do it again next year, it's $2,600. Again, that seems like those are too small. And then we had talked about, too, Diana, you weren't here for this, is we had talked about that there are still some departments that, you know, came to us when we did the 2.3% last year and said, my employees are still underpaid, because it's not every department. So I gathered from our notes of last year what those departments were, and I just put some numbers together so that if we wanted to, we could do the same thing and put a number in there. And then Diane was great and you were great that we met with department heads and kind of said, okay, for libraries, a good talking one, they're, you know, very underpaid versus the average of other libraries. So we could do a little salary study within libraries to kind of figure out where theirs are. So if you take all of those departments kind of over that have told me that there's a problem, it would be another 35,000. Just throwing numbers out there because I was asked to.
Another 35 on top of
the COLA, so that you could bring the ones that have problems up.
Yeah.
They wouldn't get decided now. We would do what we did last year and put a sum of the
Could I
number
see
in
a
one
breakdown
line.
of who those departments are? I mean, you could get it to me at some
Yes, I
point.
could. But we wouldn't have to, we're not gonna vote on any of them. They would come before the select board in the, in the summer like we did last time. So you could say, okay.
Review
the
those
library,
requests.
Is requesting this, this is what you wanna do.
Right.
As a placeholder. So I would think the best, there's two ways you can go about this, is you guys can start to look at the free cash number, because you definitely need to look at that, or you could go by departments and see where Marlene added additional money over prior year and say yay or nay to some of those, because I think that's where you're gonna find some of your money, is that, to use the example, there's the 181 there, but the COAs and the other asks that are in there, what you guys want to do with them. So
these.
Yes.
Those
those
are
are all
the free
the-
cash, but then there's also, if you look on page 2, Marlene has notes on every department that says, you know, this is the additional that they're asking for.
Right, which is this list here, Sharon, on this list over here. Yeah, I can't see it.
Those numbers, we agree with that list, but we're not sure the numbers are 100% correct now.
Those are all the additional monies that departments asked for, the
But they're
requests.
2 weeks old, so some of them changed, right?
Well, like the police department, right. But we know, this is the starting point. We know that they're going to change
But you
between
already
now
started
and.
moving numbers.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah, and you already started moving all kinds of budgets, so you did the audit, you started moving
Well,
numbers.
the audit I don't think is on there, but the police and the highway department, I have made adjustments there.
Exactly, so you've already made some changes.
Suggested
ballpark.
changes.
Yeah,
suggested
but you plug them in, that's all.
This is ballpark, that's the real number
So-
at this point.
Yeah, so let's,
Mm-hmm.
can you pull up like page 1 of, not page 1, but all the expense, I think it starts with Selectmen or whatever. And
The
let's just-
budget tab?
The budget tab, let's just go page by page and
Okay.
that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so there's, everything highlighted in yellow
Is new money.
new money. So.
New money, you're right.
So you've got the moderator,
He never had, there was never an expense, but he does have an association
yeah,
fee.
I mean, it's $40.
Right,
$40.
right.
We're
I mean, yeah,
right,
okay,
yeah.
so,
And so even like town administrators, that's really fixing,
That's contractual.
that's
actually
contractual.
going down.
less than last fiscal year, so,
Because she reduced her temporary staff wages from 10,000.
Oh, I did that. Oh, I forgot about that, Sharon, thank you. I
So now
forgot I
that
did
number's
that, yeah.
actually less than what she asked for.
That's right.
okay.
So
So,
that last column is the difference between the two budgets. So that's kind of where you want to focus.
Right, this
Right.
last column, yeah.
so the difference is only,
So there's a contractual increase in there, minus the money she took away from the temporary wages.
Yeah, I
equals a
lowered that.
$1,519 swing, less.
Yeah.
less, so it's really, okay. So then the accountant, we're not, that's an additional 10,000.
I mean, that's a negotiated-
11,000,
It's a
that's
contractual
contractual.
obligation.
We're not, treasurer, that's
I mean,
The 20,000 from free cash.
what?
That's the free cash for the payroll
There's an
conversion.
increase for 20.
Oh, right.
1,000, that's coming from free
the increase
cash.
there, and, yeah,
then how come it shows up as 19.5 out on the outer?
What is that?
Did you not hear me? There's a tornado.
Is this for real?
yeah, no.
Oh my God.
It's what?
Yeah, it's okay.
Because I reduced one budget line by $500.
I see, okay.
Okay.
Net, so
So-
it's 19,500.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
19.5, and let's make a note that the assessors technically are requesting $5,000 less. So, that's.
Yeah.
That's,
That's because last year they
Appreciated.
had Patriot was the
Right.
one, the extra
Right.
payment for that
That'll,
year.
that'll change. So collector, is just $2,000.
Mostly postage.
Yeah, that
mostly
was postage and financial services.
Okay,
Oh, and software.
right. Technology, we had a discussion about that 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
ago.
See, I added about $3,000. That's to pick up support from Archive Social for the media
right.
Yeah, right,
media platforms that are used.
right.
And I went back and checked item by item, the budget. And we have talked about moving all our data to the cloud. And I feel the budget is sufficient to cover that.
Do that.
If we're going to lease, if we're going to, not lease, it's a financial.
Pay it
lease.
over 5 years, you mean?
Right.
Paid over for
Right.
5 years.
If that's what we decide to do.
Yep. Well, that's what you've got in there now, right, is the lease?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So then,
There was a $5,000 increase for tax title.
yeah. Town clerk,
Town clerk, this is an increase for a new software program
yeah,
that she's asking for, and so that's still there in the recommended.
That's the dogs.
Dogs and tracking town officials, appointments.
Could that money come
Appointments
from free
and-
cash? Or is it a yearly fee?
It could. The
I
first
don't
year
remember
is
the-
about $5,000, and then it's about $900 a year, I believe, is the software year.
Could.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head what that actual amount was.
But it's kind of a
4,900.
one-time-
Just, yeah. Well, there is one-time costs, and then there would be ongoing costs for the support, but the one-time to set it up.
Is what, $5,000?
Yeah, let me,
Sharon's, maybe that comes from free cash, and then you do the.
And then $1,000 a year for the,
Yeah, so why don't we put $5,000, take that out of free cash for that, just for
okay. so
budget's
let's-
sake.
so
$1,000.
5,000 out of free cash?
Yep.
Okay, I need to go back here and add that.
So we have this is a election year, November elections.
Yeah.
Was that elections? Yeah.
Oh, it's town clerk.
well, it's
That's what I
town
thought.
clerk,
Cam asked why election.
town clerk software.
Town clerk software.
Well, it's on the line on the elections tab on the other.
That's where I changed it, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I gotta go back and do that.
From here.
Before you leave this page, Marlene,
Yeah,
can I ask a question?
sure.
It's a little out of order of what we're talking about, but we did propose taking the $198,000 interest payment and paying it out of free cash. Did we not talk about that when we first started?
Yes,
So if we're contemplating that, just to keep things rolling, we should add that here as well, so we have a proper number, unless you want to wait till later on.
No, you can add, Marlene should add it there, but my understanding is Sharon has got that interspersed throughout the whole budget, so it's not a single line item. Is that correct, Sharon?
Correct.
Okay,
So
well, don't mess yourselves up. I just wanted to make sure we were looking at the right numbers
The
as we move
budget
forward.
side, but then
Yeah,
it would
but
come.
we're
Okay.
on the free cash.
I'm doing everything she's doing so that we can get a running number.
Okay,
I
I don't want to screw
mess
things up, I
her.
just want them,
No,
Oh, this is from interest.
yeah.
And she can't
Okay,
talk
so I
and like
changed that.
What's that?
Snow and ice needs to be free.
To be.
Oh, yeah.
And
No, we can't do, I don't know, can we do snow and ice out of finance reserve?
well, snow and ice is 130,000.
Oh,
well,
anyway.
You don't have
so-
that available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, they don't have that available, but
so how are we?
where's it built
wait till we
into?
get down
Yeah,
to it.
okay.
Let's go through,
split it last year between,
yeah, free cash.
Cash and then the tax
Taxation.
recap,
tax
yeah.
recap.
or tax recap, yeah.
All right. So on this, you're gonna put the 198,000.
$198,000 for what?
Interest payment,
Oh, okay.
one-time interest payment.
Do you want to put the free cash number in? Well, I mean, the snow and ice while you're in there?
Is it 198?
That's
Yes.
198,000.
Yep.
Yes. But the
That'll give us a total, so we're about 264, right?
if you plug in the operating budget deficit, snow and ice, it's 130,000. Line whatever, 26.
Oh, it's already on there. The line is already on there, Marlene, up at the top. FY22 operating
The
budget.
blank,
You just have to plug an amount in.
Put it in to see where,
Whoops.
yeah, I don't think the interest payment came through.
And the interest payment didn't,
Yeah, it's got to go to the right.
Oh, yeah, she's just got to format a cell.
So my rough number over here is that.
Okay, interest payment is, okay, wait a minute here, what happened?
I happen to see that number go
Oh.
on her screen.
This was up here.
Yeah, her number should say.
Oops, wait a minute here.
Oops.
Okay, that I'm gonna go check and see if,
So we should have about 100, that should be about 134 right there.
Sound like there's somebody downstairs.
is that right? Yep. Okay.
No.
I've got a calculator here too, if we need to use it.
So I came
It
up with
never
180.
deducted the 198, Marlene.
Right.
I have 137, 235.
That's left.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay, let me see here.
because we had you flying all over, sorry
Copy.
about that.
Drag that down.
Do this one, right?
I hate Excel. Yeah,
Is that
there you go.
right?
Yeah, but
There you
you don't need all those extra ones at the bottom.
Well, if we're going to add any more lines, any
okay.
more items, I want to make sure that,
Right,
Okay.
okay. Great.
He gets there, I'll check.
Thank you, Marlene.
So where was snow and ice? Was it anywhere yet or nowhere?
Yeah, it's up there now, and she put it in.
I mean, was
Yep.
it somewhere else? Was it in,
No,
it wasn't under taxation?
so
or
I
any of that
did
stuff?
have it on the
Tax rate cap?
appropriations up here in
that's a
case we,
blank.
Right,
Yep, that's okay, as long as it's blank.
yeah.
I didn't know if we needed to give ourselves some money somewhere else because we took it out as free cash.
No, that, yeah, good point.
Yep.
yep, so 130. Oh, Jesus. All right. And then I'm going to also, let's see, what else were we doing here? Okay, so that's from the operating budget. All right, so I don't need to add that. Interest payment, I'll get with you, Sharon, we'll look at that. All right, so we go back to the budgets
Let's go back
again.
to the budget,
So we would be down at
Town
planning
clerk.
board.
Planning board.
right. And I guess the question is,
It's 11,500.
I personally think the 11,500 should be in. I think we need to give it to them. I
Agreed.
don't know what anybody else thinks, but
Yep.
I don't think it's enough to do what they really want to do, but it's a
That's my
start.
concern with it, but
Yeah. If it gives them a chance that they can hire PVPC as a consultant for certain things, it gives them some money.
Yep.
You know, and it's a start. And they've been asking for several years, so. Okay, so then
That was pretty much it.
that's pretty, and then we're on to police, who was pretty much level funded,
So look
right?
at that number.
They
She took your.
are looking for 100, what was that difference? Let me see here, I took out,
Well,
It was the
COLA, they were
2%.
looking
the
for-
COLA was 3,002,
Right.
but the
But-
total request,
Yeah, but you
60
took the COLA out of
I
it.
did,
Yeah,
yeah,
because it'll be,
yeah.
we'll decide what we're gonna do with COLA.
So Marlene, you had said, I'm sorry if you're not done with police. When you get to fire, let me know.
Yeah, I think we're done. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so fire, you had, in your email to me, had said you took the 181,000 out of there and you put it under free cash, but it's still in there as an expense.
Right
So is it-
here,
It's okay, it's coming from there, so that's the only. place
so
we have to
when
put it?
I took the 180,254, so you've got your total, 357,708, 177,454 from taxation, 182,554 from free cash.
So if I add those together.
So if those two should add up.
Yep, they do.
Okay.
Thank you, I just want to make sure it was right.
Okay. And ambulance, we're okay there?
what's the extra 10 in ambulance?
That's an additional 10,000 for EMT paramedic school.
Yes.
Okay.
You can drop it if it had originally been in under taxation, you can take it out.
It's well, it's all coming out of ambulance surplus.
Comes out of surplus, so we should be
Ambulance
fine.
receipts.
Well, and if we
And-
need
and
EMTs, we can't drop the training money.
Right, can't drop, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, inspection services.
Inspection services, so there was an increase for the alternate
Oh, right.
inspectors.
Right.
Which is what he's come to you every year for, because.
Yep.
Yeah, which it's an appropriate, that's an appropriate
They get,
ask.
yeah, they're compensated for additional inspections.
Animal control, we talked about that. Scott
Yeah.
virtually does this for nothing as it is.
Right.
Schools,
Yeah, we get down to
Michael, that
school.
has all,
That
that's,
number hasn't changed, right?
that number hasn't changed, right? So,
And that's what you need from taxation, so it's, the number's actually higher, but it's offset by things like choice funds and whatever, okay.
yeah.
May I? So I did meet with Michael last week, and we had a I thought, a very nice conversation. I don't know how he feels. I brought him a coffee and muffins, so. I just would like to think that perhaps that can be looked at, that amount. And I know we're shooting for level services, as we always do, but, you know, a 9% increase, as you can imagine, on a budget that's already quite large, is just, if it is what it is, then that's fine, but I know oftentimes, sometimes, as the original budget's submitted to us, like January, February, whenever it is, and here we are getting into April and almost May, perhaps there's some things that can change. So I would just ask if the school committee and the superintendent might be able to have a look and just see if he, you know, 50,000 here, or whatever the amount might be. I would appreciate it personally, just to see if there can be any changes. You know, if there can't, there can't, but, you know,
I
another
also
crack at
think
it.
that if we are looking at maybe going for a debt exclusion that would include the school, I would suggest that part of what you
Yeah.
put out there
Show a little.
is a breakdown of how you get to that number, where that 9%, where those increases are. And then, I mean, you know, I know you said that if you don't get the money, it's people. So is the 9% coming from salaries and people? Is it coming from other things? I think that a real detailed line item that shows people exactly where the increases are.
Well, I think it's important that people understand what they're getting
People have to understand
for their money, that's all.
where your increases are,
Right.
you know, and what you're asking for, and then obviously what would get cut if.
Yep.
It's people, special education, and a small bit of transportation.
Can I ask how your push for new kids is going? Is it good?
How the what?
Push for new kids, I know
It's
that
not
was
where we wanted to be, but it's
a big conversation
it's in the
was.
plus column.
So that was another part of my question, because your budget was based on projections of school choice and projections, I would assume, of retaining current students, and how you're doing on that is going to be really important, because,
Well, for school choice, we only use the number we know, which is from this year, so
Okay.
that's not a projection.
Yeah.
okay.
We're on target.
I just think that those details are going to be important to people.
Especially at town meeting. You'll
for
probably be
sure.
asked for those details.
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry, Lori, were you saying something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think we should budget for salaries and expenses separately too, so it's easy, you know, it's clearly seen on the budget document, because it's all lumped under expenses too. When I posted to Vadar, Ellie gives me the numbers for the budget for salaries and expenses.
Yeah, I see that. It's all expense.
Right. Well, and that's how we've always gotten it from the
Yeah, it's
school.
always been a single line from the
It's
school.
always been a single line, and because it gives them flexibility to.
Yeah, I mean, it can still be a single line, but
Right,
just
but just-
for transparency,
Yeah.
I think it makes sense to.
Right.
like- just my two
Well,
cents.
because a majority of it is salaries.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, understandably so, by the
Right,
way. That's not a
yes, right.
that's not a complaint, that's just a fact. I mean, you know. Yeah, that's a good point, though, I think.
Are we okay with the voc ed number? Is that look
Michael?
correct?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
because that's always a wild card as
it's
well.
always a wild card. You never quite know.
Right.
Okay, highway, the additional 63, that's a person and a half, Phil?
So that's $27,602 for a part-time employee to become a full-time employee. So that's the other half of the salary. $10,000 to hire a administrative assistant.
Yeah.
And then we added $10,000 for the highway superintendent, which was funded for FY '22.
Right.
Right, that was in a separate line item within the budget last year. It
Right.
wasn't in the highway department wages, salaries.
Okay.
And then there's a contractual increase in there. So his request was an additional $16,020 for line painting and $3,000 for outside contracting. The recommended number, as you can see, has been reduced by $8,000.
I thought you just decided the line painting was going to come, oh no, that was pipe, sorry.
But
Never mind.
Can you do your line painting all out of that 160,000?
You can do the line painting, all the line painting if you wanted to take that 16,000 out of the wrap money.
That winter recovery money,
The winter
Marlene.
recovery
We
money?
would,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you could
think he
reduce
was
that
okay with that.
by the line painting number.
You can do it for that, for this year, but next year we'll be back looking for money to
Yeah.
paint lines.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You balance the numbers now, you can surely take the 16,000 and we'll just pay for the line painting out of winter recovery.
Right.
Because that you can't use Chapter 90 for that anymore, but you used to, right?
Or we could use the winter recovery.
Right.
funds, which makes no sense to me, but-
I'm still stunned that the state hasn't increased the amount of Chapter 90 going to towns.
And why would they
been
take line
going
painting
down.
out of that as an eligible? So you can repave a road, but you can't paint it.
Yeah.
Well, you can do it the first year, but not after that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You can do it when you pave it.
You can do it when you pave it, but then you can't I got it, okay.
That's crazy.
Okay.
All right, so then we've got minor increase, mechanics motor pool.
Just updating my comment here.
Yeah, and then facilities maintenance looks like it's up a little bit. Is that right?
Yes, that's due to utility increases.
Utility, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much we can do about that.
It's currently overspent too, so
Yeah.
I'm glad to see it increasing.
Yeah. So then we're down to vehicle lease and,
Oh, Phil, I'm sorry,
Sorry,
Daryl,
go
can we
ahead.
back up to fuel? So Daryl, you had said you'd like to see that plugged for increase the fuel 73,000. Is that a number that the Franklin Regional Council of Governments gave you? Because you were going to talk to them about it.
Yeah, so with the Franklin Council, you have to put in a request for gallons. You have to identify how many gallons you are estimating to use.
yeah,
So what they do is they take all the towns under the collaboration and then they buy the fuel. So you have to pay really for the storage. That's why you have to pay that amount, whatever it is. If you don't even use it all, you still have to pay that amount that you purchased it for.
okay.
So right now, we're estimating, we set them, our estimates are 10,000 diesel, 10,000 gas. And we're assuming that it's gonna be $3.50 a gallon. We don't know, they didn't come out with the new prices yet. But I mean, if you wanna leave it at the 68,000 or whatever it is up there, that's fine with me. If you don't.
Isn't it 62,000?
62,500.
Is that,
And you turned back 11,000 in that last year.
But fuel prices have gone crazy since then. They were way down.
so you tell me, Phil, what should that number be?
Well, I'm thinking it should be around 73.
Okay.
All right.
Again, it's a number we really can't do anything about.
Right, right.
And you won't
I mean-
know until
Well,
they
you
get
could
the
fund
bill.
it later though, because you put money in finance reserve so that it's not a guaranteed number, so it's a,
Right. Yeah, but either way, you'd have to put money in finance, yeah, you gotta account for it somewhere.
We're going the wrong way, we're adding works.
I know. All right,
was gonna say
vehicle
something.
lease.
Yep.
That's the new lease.
So the current lease is 129,000, proposed 53,500, and 31,000, we're talking about paying that off. So that's not included in here. That's a special article.
And
We'd
but-
fund that
right,
from free
We decided
cash.
that 2 weeks ago. We're gonna
Right.
do that out of free
Right.
cash. Okay. All right. All right.
Just back up, you're gonna pay off the 31,000 out of free cash.
Yeah.
But are you
That's
gonna
what-
add- is the new lease number up there?
Yeah, the 53.5, right?
53,500? Is that what it is?
No, it's staying, no,
that's
it's
the
staying at the
ambulance.
180, right?
Yeah, the new,
Something's coming off, something's going on, we still have to figure out one of the vehicles we may pay off outright, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't we have that conversation at our last meeting?
I think the 48,000 is still in there, Brian, for the cruiser.
That's an article. Is that still in this 180, Phil? The cruiser?
Right, that's what I'm saying. We pulled that out, right?
Oh,
It looks like it's pulled out in the budget I'm looking at.
We were adding, the new lease was gonna be for 230,000, and the payment was like 49, almost 50,000. Is that correct?
yes. But the new lease now is,
But that's only gonna add,
that's 3 vehicles. One we're gonna do outright.
right, that's 3 vehicles.
And so the question we had 2 weeks ago is, are we paying for the COA van outright, or are we paying for the police cruiser outright?
Right, that's the question, I guess.
And
The cruiser's probably 50,000, the COA van's gonna be closer to 80 or 90,000.
right, so what's gonna get us closer to what the new lease is gonna be at, what, 53,000? 50,000 is,
That's the quote that you got from the lease people,
right.
was 53,000.
Correct.
53,000 was for 4 vehicles?
No, it's for 230,000 worth of value.
Exactly, it was dollar
So
amount, not
so the
number of
assumption
vehicles.
was to pay the COA van out of free cash.
So,
No, I'm sorry.
That,
pay
there
the
wasn't a
cruiser
decision
out.
to do that. The cruiser, the police cruiser right now is on the
cruiser out of
list.
free cash,
The 3 other
and
vehicles
you'll
are
have enough
covered.
money for the 2 trucks
2 trucks
and the COA van,
Correct. That's correct.
okay?
And-
Makes sense, Daryl, because when we did this a couple weeks ago, it didn't come out to be enough money.
Yeah,
We were underpricing the COA van.
Right.
right.
Yeah, because the original pricing on the COA van was only 48,000.
Yeah, but what is it now?
It's almost 90.
Count the
Holy,
COA
how
director
does
said
that-
70.
That's why.
It's almost
So,
90.
so if it's almost 90, so Sean, so
Right.
do we pay for the COA van and do the other, the 2
No,
pickups?
Increase that
I just
much.
remember last week or whatever it was, 2 weeks ago, when I was trying to get up to the amount of money that Phil included in the email in terms of the cost of the vehicles, not the cost of the lease,
Yeah,
that we weren't nearly at that amount of money
right.
with the 3 vehicles. We still were not spending that much money. But if the COA van is more like $90,000, then that makes more sense. The way we have it set up now is probably accurate with paying for the cruiser outright, and then the 2 trucks and the COA van in the lease.
So if you're saying 90 for COA, how much was,
And we were just estimating, because no one's giving us any prices, so we're estimating at 65 each. So 130 and the 90 is close.
and that goes with the quote
So,
you got
so
right here.
130 for the 2 trucks?
130 for the 2 trucks and 90 for the COA.
What makes that so expensive, like the lifts and?
The lifts, and it's through the roof.
Everything's expensive.
Well, no, I know that.
Okay. All right, so,
right.
so Sean, we're gonna stay with buying the police cruiser?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Does that show up on your free cash list?
That's on the
Yes,
free cash
It's on our
list.
free cash list.
for 48,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw it on there.
Yeah, so we're,
And the ambulance lease is separate from
that's
this?
53,631, that's
Right.
there. So we're leaving this at 180,
No,
we're increasing this?
no, the 180 shouldn't that be 50,000?
No, so you have a current lease of 120.
Yeah, you have a current
Yeah,
lease.
that's what I have a note
And then you
there.
add the new lease.
Then add the 53,500.
So 180 is what matches what Phil said.
Oh, the current lease.
That's why we're paying off the 31 to get
To
that
drill.
off of there to like renew, if you will, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, so really in the budget, you gotta take, I mean, the prior 31 that
Yep.
was budgeted and add whatever it is to get to the,
Well, that's it, under free cash, the 32, Phil.
Yep.
right. But I'm saying that budget number isn't really increasing like 53,
No,
because
it's
you
in-
had the 30 in there.
Yeah.
Right, that was already there. It's like a $25,000, $26,000 increase from, yeah.
Right.
Well, it's up there, right? The previous
That's the
year.
19,000.
Yep.
Okay.
Rent to own,
So we're,
not lease,
So
rent to
we're-
own.
So we're okay with that. So we can move on to Board of Health, Council of Aging. Now, Council of Aging, they've requested the 15,600 for part-time plus some additional 3,000 for trips or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. Program, yeah. So we're gonna leave that in there?
I guess so. I mean, some of these, but like the position for the COA and the position for the DPW, could that be one position? One person that has split time between the two departments? I mean, or then do you get into benefits and that's what you're,
well, this would be a 20-hour,
So she's looking, the COA by herself is looking for an 18 to 19-hour position, so by herself to keep it under full-time, and then I don't know how many hours you figured out in yours.
Yeah, I forgot.
If you do
It wasn't much for 10,000.
no.
No,
1,000
not much.
divided by,
I guess that's why I thought, like, if you could combine them, I mean, I know you then get into benefit situations, but it just seems like you might have an easier time filling positions if it's, I don't know.
I don't know if they'll have the same skill set though, which someone who wants to work down there versus, I don't know. It's hard to get.
And I want to open a big discussion about it. We've already been through all of this, but.
Yeah, and, you know, and with the Council of Aging, you know, I kind of feel like we say no more than we ever do say yes, so.
I think there's been a real escalation of
departments,
services,
Yep.
an escalation of people using it.
Right.
I think you need to take a look at the staff that's down there, the age of the staff that's down there, and, you
Yep.
know,
No,
I don't want to say no to them if we're saying yes to other people asking for people,
right,
other departments asking for people.
right.
And now that it's fixed up downstairs,
Yep.
they're
Yeah, I think that
getting a lot
there's-
more use, so.
Yeah,
All right. So then we're on library and
that's
veterans,
small,
which is
small,
all
that's all small stuff.
What's next? Then we're on our loan service,
debt
debt
service, yeah.
service. We're okay there.
And the unclassified budgets, these are, we really can't do anything with these.
Right. No, they're,
so I don't,
Fixed assessments and then, of course, the
you
benefits.
skipped over it quickly. Did you do water sewer yet? Did we miss that?
we didn't get to
Okay,
water.
yeah.
We didn't get to water and
Okay, good.
sewer
I
yet.
just wasn't sure how one number worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's
Classified.
next.
Now we're
I
at water
think. Oh,
sewer.
So you have
these
the other
right
half of
here.
that position that's getting used by water. So, but that should all come out of the enterprise, right? Like that shouldn't affect,
Right,
okay.
Right. Yeah.
There is $50,000 in there for water breaks, but that's, I know Phil said that that was important too, so
No, yeah.
I don't know where you guys are gonna find this.
yeah, so 15,000 was added to water for rentals and leases. And yeah, the 50.
Well,
What do you mean rentals and leases? What does that mean, Phil?
How much was that? I didn't see that.
15,000 for
Rentals and leases, what
are
is
we
that?
renting and leasing?
Is that equipment, Phil?
I mean, aren't we buying some heavy equipment that you guys would be able to use instead of renting?
No, I mean, maybe that could come out. I really didn't talk to Tony.
They specific to what Tony does or needs, maybe,
I'm sure he
on
has
occasion?
some rental or lease fees up there that he uses, I don't know. What about the software, is that included in that?
It is.
Can you
I'll get you an answer.
Can you get us an answer? And, you know, the 50,000 for
Water
breaks.
breaks.
Doesn't take long to chew that
I
up with a
know
water
that.
break.
Right. Because we haven't normally put anything in that, is that correct?
No, that was always zero.
Right, and then that's when we had Route 5, West Street breaks, and we had to come up with, what, $100,000 to
Yep.
fix it? So, yeah, gotta have something.
It's really impossible to budget for it.
Right, it's
I
just
mean,
a
you
line.
put that in and you offset a little bit what you may have, you never know, from year to year. We forgot to sign.
Sewer
And
increase.
does that 50,000 and all that comes out of the enterprise? It doesn't
It
come out of...
does, it's all
Doesn't
enterprise.
come out of
Right.
taxation?
No,
It's
does
all
not.
enterprise money, all the operating
Yeah.
Yeah.
budget. and
Thank you.
salaries.
Okay. We've got sewer.
And sewer increase is an additional 16,754. That, they added a cell phone expense, and then the sludge disposal has increased in
yeah.
sample testing.
Good old sludge.
Yep. Okay.
And then
That's it.
get
Then we
into-
got debt on water and sewer. How much of the debt is coming out of water sewer, and how
Well,
much is?
Actually, it occurred to me this afternoon, I asked Sharon, I didn't get a chance, but I wanted to go back and make sure that if there's any projects here that are being funded by water and sewer, because in the past there has. I just didn't have a chance to do that today.
Anything I listed on my sheet as water sewer is underwater sewer here, so.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
is it being paid out of taxation or out of what?
Right now, it's all taxation.
I
Oh.
thought,
My sheet doesn't say whether it's taxation or whether it's from
what did we
enterprise.
do? I thought, well,
I think there are some projects that water and sewer have funded.
but is there,
have
and
them.
is there available money in water and sewer to pay for any of the debt service?
You take water and sewer being at 392 and 435 being their total, you add that together, you're almost at what they bring in, so I would say no.
Okay.
Have
They
that
bring
with
in
me.
500,000 each time, so it's $1 million, you add those together, you've got a little bit of wiggle room, but not much.
I'm going to double check though.
Yeah,
I wanna look and see
so
what- if
let's-
we
let's-
have.
Yeah, because I know in the past, we've tried to do some, but anyway, okay.
So Marlene, if you go to budget recap, my guess is your number in orange is gonna be, now I just deleted it, because I have it going with the interest out of it. I'm guessing you're gonna have, where did it go? 13,828 plus 198,000. 211?
No, but you know what I haven't done here is the free cash. I haven't updated that up here. Let's see, where am I?
So what do you think the number's at now?
I think the number's at, over budget by $13,828, and we still didn't put
So we've
COLAs in.
spent 1,011,
So-
27.
So
Before
let's-
raises, though, before
let's
COLA.
just-
Right, no COLAs.
Can we just talk a minute about COLA? I mean, Sharon presented 2, 2.5, and 3 for all non-negotiated employees, correct?
Correct. I plugged in a number for the
And we
one of the
generally like to have a number that's reasonably close to where our
Contract employees
contracts
are.
employees are. So which number would that be?
3.
That be 3?
No, most of our, out of our contract employees, there's one getting 3, the rest are getting 2 or 2.5.
Okay.
There's only
No,
one
yeah,
contract at 3.
but we don't know school yet.
And
We
we
don't
don't
know
know
that number,
DPW.
and we don't know DPW.
So,
I don't know, Finance Committee, what do you guys think?
Well, I know you asked your colleagues, can I just throw something out there,
Oh,
though?
please.
Only because I wrote it down when Sharon said it, and you might have the paperwork. So, roughly speaking, a 2% increase would be 40,000. If we want to look at whole numbers. A 2.5% increase would be 48,000.
Yeah.
And 3% would be about 57,000. I rounded up or off, but give or take.
I mean, and we could do the 2%, and then we could add the additional, what was that
I put
money?
35,000 in
The
for,
additional 35,000 to, like what we did last year, so it gives some flexibility to the board to take care of some positions that may or may not be funded correctly. Is that?
so that
Well,
would,
Daryl, I'm definitely in favor of fixing the people who aren't gonna be at $15 an hour.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry.
I agree,
Yes.
Sean. I mean, everywhere that's hiring is hiring at 15. You can't pay people less
that's
than that.
$2,600,
Yeah.
so that's
Okay,
So
so
I
that's
would take-
$2,600.
I would suggest, from my perspective, and I agree, at least $15 an hour. And then, I don't know, 3%. I mean, for, I'm guessing that the union contracts or the union contracts and individual contracts are going to be in that 2.5%, 3% range.
You look at what inflation is.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And the people who are bound by, who are part of a contract have longer terms. They know they're getting this year
Right.
after year. We have these other employees that,
So
are always at the mercy of the budget.
So if you brought the minimum wage to $15,
yep, that's only.
that's about $3,000, a little less, and you did 3%, that's about 60,000, 58 basically. So you're looking at, you'd be looking at about $60,000 or $61,000 roughly.
So what do we do with the additional money that we did last year, the 35,000? That doesn't mean you have to spend it.
Well, that's what I mean.
Do you-
I think if everyone knew they were getting 3 up front, I mean, I'd rather know I was getting 3 versus 2 and might get something more down the road versus knowing I'm getting 3 now
I
and then,
say just 3, and why do,
Yeah.
because we did some corrective action with
doing
the
the-
2.3 last year. Do a 3, which is a reasonable amount, and leave it at that.
Well, and if you decide to discuss an override, I can still start to work on those numbers by department. So you'd have them for the ones that are, if you want, I don't have to.
That are,
The ones that the departments who came to us and said, library being my best example, she's having a hard time getting staff because she's so not competitive with her wages. So she's one that, Marlene can speak to it too, that she said, I really could use some money. So just do the 3% now. If we discuss, for next year.
I was just going to say, and then that additional potentially would be to do the whole salary ranges, which we talk about every year. That
Exactly.
never seem to
So
quite
if
be
you
able to
forget
narrow it down.
the additional money, if you just do the 57,000 for the 3% and 3,000 for the COLA, you'd be at $60,000,
right.
Okay.
which would put us at, on my sheet.
Still incrementally getting to where
Yeah, oh, yeah,
departments
it's
like
still,
that
yeah.
are in a more competitive range.
Yep.
What number does that get us to, Sharon?
What number does she have?
She's got
23.
23,000.
Oh, I have, my number without that is 13,000, so if you add 60 to that, you're at 73 overspent.
We go by Marlene's where it's 83.
So let me just make sure I have everything here for
Yeah,
free
and-
cash.
But we still,
And
we
you
still have
guys,
to,
you guys have
We're
all week
within-
Well,
to,
yours is different from hers by $10,000.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out what that 10,000
But
is.
mine has the 198,000 out, hers doesn't.
So-
That's right, you added that into
So our
extra
number should be a
interest.
lot different, so I don't know where.
so you know, they got a week to fix
Yeah, so
this.
we made a lot of
so
progress.
right
Now check all these formulas and everything, and
whatever that's over, whether it's $60,000 or $80,000, you know, the only choice that I see is we would have to fund that from free cash, unless we're gonna cut a budget, and then we've gotta decide, do we wanna leave a little on the levy for just in case, and how much do we leave?
but funding an operating budget with free cash is just not a great idea. It just puts us further in the hole next year.
Like I said, for next year, we have to have an override to make this work, but you gotta get the override done this year, so next year we can fund these things. We don't
So
have
how about we, I mean, because we made a lot of progress, how about we have them work on these formulas, get all these kinks worked out, and we have a better idea of what the actual number is next week? And then we talk about the funding possibilities for.
And I guess that if we don't do it through free cash, and I agree in principle, and there's a good reason not to do it, what are we cutting?
Right.
Yeah, I think for sure next week, you know, we've got to go through it this week, have the financial team go through it again. You know, we're at the point, the good news is we're at the point where $10,000 or $20,000 moved from here or out of there over to here can start bringing, I mean, we've been in a lot worse situations than we are now, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, you know, if we can get that closer to zero for now and then decide about that extra.
And we're funding a lot of stuff with free cash already.
A lot.
Right, well, and putting the fire department out of free cash also means that if the program is successful with its offset of ambulance revenue and we decide to keep it going, we're already in deficit for next year as well.
Right, exactly.
So I wouldn't want to have too much other things funded through free cash that way, because it just really kicks the can down the road.
Right, and we only have $130,000 left in this year's free cash.
Yeah,
something like
134.
that. So.
Okay. Okay, so we'll, Sharon, you guys will all work on that, and then that'll be the budget discussion next week.
Because by next week, we pretty much have to have this nailed down.
Marlene, did you just make the adjustment to the drainage repair on page 1? Did you bring that down by 100?
Oh, you know, I haven't reduced that. That's going to be 100,000, right?
Right. With the potential that you could use the, what did you call it, the RAP money?
Yes.
Yep.
Maybe that's
The
that
W.
10,000.
Well, the 10,000, we
No,
don't
you
have
could,
that
you
money
could
yet.
use that money to do the
But that's
whole
not the
project.
discrepancy between what she had and what you had?
Right.
The 13 and the
10,000 you're gonna
23?
use Finance reserve.
Right.
You're gonna do a sheet, so that we
But-
can buy it
But if you needed to use the RAP money, you could use the RAP money to
for
do that
next year.
drainage project.
Oh, the 100,000?
That money to do the whole, to do the 100,000.
You want to do that, Phil? Use the 100,000, free up free cash by that amount?
Well, let's just wait and see what next week.
Let's see what next week,
It's
because we
okay.
still have to go through the
That's
whole
okay.
warrant.
Yeah,
So,
43 articles.
I know, so,
Well, I'm hopeful maybe we can
So I,
narrow down a group of
for
them
sure,
to one.
so I came up with the team that capital projects, we're giving back $103,000 back to next year's free cash. And Marlene made them all separate articles. And I've been told from numerous places that they don't need to be.
okay, so we can talk about that right as we get into the
Right, but I
warrant.
asked Tom Mullen that question, if we can lump them all into one article.
Could you put up the capital expenses again, please? I'm sorry.
On the appropriations?
Not capital,
special?
sorry. I meant the free cash, whatever's being paid out of free cash.
Okay, right here.
Yeah, do we have the paving of a,
No,
that's not, one of the schools isn't there, and that's,
none of the schools, because we
Understood, I just wanted to
started
make,
spending
I was like,
money
something's
on
missing for me to,
Oh, did we add paving the parking lot?
no,
I
but
didn't- I was
we
gonna say,
we
I
had
don't recall
a, we
doing
had a
that.
discussion about it.
Phil very nicely got an estimate, and we thought 2 weeks ago, we thought we were gonna have enough money
The low
to do
threes,
one of
right.
those, and now it doesn't look like we can get there.
Marlene, did
know,
you add the
and-
money for prior year expense that you got today?
Prior year, today, I didn't get anything new today. I have everything, I have everything, I already had it.
Just making sure, crossing the
Nothing
list.
new, yeah.
That's perfect.
No, I'm,
You get half a parking lot.
So can we wrap up the budget part of the discussion? You're going to work on all these numbers, and we're going to come
Oh,
back
yes.
as a starting point next week, because it's going to take us a while to get through this warrant, and it's getting
I'm
late.
sorry, last time, can we go back to page 1?
I
and
eat, sleep this budget.
And where do we stand, Sharon and Marlene, as far
Okay,
as,
let's-
is
did I
it
go too
73,
far?
63, what's the?
Somewhere in that zone,
I thought it was going to be 13.
between
Now it's
60 and 80.
13.
Because you took the 10 out of
I
that
took
110.
10 out of, yeah.
So you and Sharon jive on
Yeah,
that number now.
Oh, I gotta update free
But then
cash
you've got
again.
The 60,000 is
The
not in there
61
for wages.
The
Correct.
60,000 for wages.
Okay, that's okay, you don't have, Marlene, do it when it's
127.
quiet time.
You
So
don't-
we know that it's about
About 73.
75, we'll call it. so, you know,
75.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have to vote on this next Tuesday, Marlene, or?
My goal was the warrant and the budget would be approved on the 26th.
Well, the warrant, I think for sure, right?
Warrant
The
has-
budget we can always change, right,
Warrant
Sean?
is
usually
Right up
warrant
to,
change.
We still met on the budget, but the warrant has to be done 7 days prior.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's get into the
that wasn't bad.
warrant. Yes? Everybody ready for that?
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of articles. Some are just boilerplate stuff and we can run through, right?
Yeah.
Article,
No, no,
Article
right.
1 is setting the election, so that's. If anybody has an issue about any of these articles, just speak up.
Can I just ask you really quick, at the very top, it says Tuesday, the 10th of May, but then the next paragraph says Tuesday, the 17th of May?
That's for the election.
That's for the election.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So can we talk about the time? Town clerk would like to start publicizing the time of town
Is that why
meeting.
Joe was here?
Well, that, yes,
Do
but
that
he
next
was-
week.
I think we should do it next week when we talk about quorum.
Okay,
I
we
mean,
do that.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Joe should be involved in that discussion.
It's usually at 7, right? Usually, but this says 6.
Usually it is
So
at
You don't have any, what do you have any articles on here? Okay. You're dismissed, Superintendent.
Thanks for coming,
Thank you.
Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Yep, see ya.
Okay. Yeah, that, I think that should be, and like, if we could make that early in the agenda so
Sure.
that Joe doesn't have to wait all that time. And obviously, Lydia should be here too.
Okay.
So Article 1 is just the article to set the elections. That's typical every year. Article 2 is to, again, this is just boilerplate, standard stuff that's on every election that allows us to accept grants. Article 3 allows us to enter into compensating balance agreements. Article 4 is Chapter 90. Article 5 is prior year expenses. Do we have any idea of what those are?
Yeah, $1,055. I have that plugged in on the spreadsheet.
Okay, that's not bad.
But that's on the spreadsheet, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a funding article, so yeah.
Article 6 is snow and ice. Does that need to be in there still? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we're
because-
going to be
okay.
funding that $130,000 from free cash.
It would have to be in there.
So Article 7 is one of the articles that Bobby and Anna spoke to. Article 8 is also one they spoke to.
That's to
and-
create the revolving
Right.
fund.
Right,
and to put money
and
into
Article 9 is giving money back to the town. You guys weren't here when they were
Yeah.
speaking, but it's, you're good, okay.
Good.
Article 10 is also returning money.
So 10 through 16, Articles 10 through 16 is to return money, close out projects and return money.
That's awesome. And those are not the ones you're talking about consolidating. Those are the ones we're talking about consolidating. That'd be great.
So Article 16, though, that would return money to ambulance surplus.
So that one would be handled separately, because it's a different fund?
I believe that the free cash and the ambulance, you're gonna get confirm this, ambulance and free cash can be in the same article, go to two places. The one that has to be separate is the article that's rescinding the borrowing.
Borrowing, that has to be
These
separate.
can summarize down into two.
Right, yeah. But I always, once I prepare all these articles, I defer further comments from town council, though, too.
So we'll have a determination on that, and this will be restructured depending on what the opinion of council is. Is that right? Okay.
This isn't any money we can use right away.
No.
Chomping at the bit. Chomping at the bit over there.
Next year, we're helping.
Starting off on the right foot.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so that took us through 16, right?
Yeah.
Article 17 is...
This is to appropriate the money that was left over from the renovations of the Council on Aging.
Okay.
And to repurpose it for the bathroom upstairs.
Okay.
$56,000.
That's what it is?
Yeah, actually, I should have left this open. Look at the amounts.
I have it right here, Marlene.
Oh, you do? Okay, thank you.
56,000.
Article 18, that's the borrowing article that Sharon was just referring to that we're rescinding.
Diana, last
Was
week
for the radio.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we
So
did.
we authorized to borrow the 255 for.
That was the grant.
Got the grant.
Because you got the grant.
The little bit that we did spend, we're gonna use free cash, so we don't actually ever have to borrow it.
Right.
Okay. Bob, no word on the ladder
They
grant?
start awarding next month.
Next month. Okay. So after, okay. Article 19 is...
This amends the Article 22 that was voted last year regarding the Route 5 water and sewer projects and some of the easements there.
Okay.
So the new plan moved the pump station further south. So this change amends that vote. There won't be any landscaping or structures.
Okay. Article 20 is the luminarium article. And this is, we're just going to rescind the prior language.
That's what this does.
The town is silent on luminarium date, correct? Okay. Article 21 is reducing the Conservation Commission.
From 7 to 5. The Select Board voted in 2014 to do that. That wasn't a legal vote because the town accepted Chapter 40, Section 8C, and authorized 7. The town clerk notified me that that vote by the Select Board wasn't.
And I would assume there'll be somebody there prepared to speak to their ongoing lack of quorum problems. Okay.
Yeah.
Article 12 is the garage roof.
That's the wastewater plant upgrades.
What am I seeing?
12?
Am I on the wrong
22.
page? 22.
I'm sorry. Oh, how did I do that? Oh, I didn't flip the page. I'm getting really tired. Okay. Article 22. So wait a minute. What am I looking at? Oh, that's the ones we rescinded. We're rescinding. All right, Article 22 is the sewer upgrade.
Yeah.
Okay. Article 23 is leases. Article 24 is, that's a vehicle lease as well.
That's the 31,000.
To pay for the
free
to pay off, right.
To pay off that other, yeah.
Yep.
If anybody wants to pipe in, just pipe in. Article 25.
That's the new cruiser.
New cruiser. Yeah. Article 26. Radio communications equipment.
That's the balance of the Isn't that the balance of the money for the radios that we're not,
not
that
gonna
we don't
borrow,
have
yeah,
to
we're just gonna
borrow
pay
the
it, we got-
255,000?
Okay, so it's just a lesser amount. What is the amount, Bob, do you
It's
know?
now 71.
254.
We had thought it was 55, then it went to 60, and now it went up to 71 today.
And
Is there any
that's-
chance that will go up again?
No, that was the final.
Oh, okay.
There was a couple of invoices that hadn't shown up yet.
Oh, I see.
And that's
And then the
free,
police had to add a couple of thousand as well.
yeah, and that's free cash.
That is free cash.
Yeah.
So that's really a savings of $180,000 though.
Correct.
Oh, my gosh,
That- I
yes,
mean, that's,
right.
Yeah.
that's, so
That's
people
important.
understand, the grant was for 255,
Good
we're
point,
paying
yeah.
70, so we didn't have to come up with $180,000.
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
Thanks to the chief.
right.
Okay.
Again, another capital planning article. This is the PPE for the fire department.
Yeah.
and that's from free cash. And is that 15,000, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Another capital item, the trash compactor, that's free cash as well, right? 80,000?
Yeah. Then you got Raymond Avenue.
Raymond Ave, that's free cash?
Right now, it's
It
free
was,
cash. It was 110, and it'll be 100,000.
Okay. The work down on Elm Court, what's the funding source there? Is that free cash?
That's free cash as well.
Cash.
The storage building on Elm Court,
Free cash.
Article 23 and 33 and 34 are submitted by petition. Article 35
CPA?
is the CPA.
All right, so Article 35 is to amend,
Last
year's.
This current year budget.
right. And then 36 is the budget article for
New
23.
budget.
The new CPA projects.
No, just the new budget.
Budget.
Oh, the new budget.
Yeah. The next ones are the project.
Right. Okay, and these, okay, these are all the, yep, okay.
In Article 41, obviously, is CPA.
Article 40, I thought they were going to look at other pricing for that.
Bids come in on that yet?
Bids are due Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay.
Oh, that's for the pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
Article 41, Brian, did you say something about 41? This is just
It's
the
the
budget.
budget.
Yeah, okay.
41, that's community preservation.
That's
Oh,
another
that's community
CPA.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's
This
property
is
on
the-
Jericho Road.
That's the Jericho Road one, 41.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
40 was the park.
Right.
Blew right through those, Diana. Nice.
We are just moving right along. 42 is revolving funds.
Yep. Pretty normal.
43 is the budget. 44 is securing the welfare of the town. So if we
Without putting the
consolidate,
articles
we'll be down in the 30 article range. And some of these, I think, will go really fast. You know, as I was saying to Joe earlier, the size of the warrant doesn't always determine the length of the town meeting. You can have 2 articles and be there for hours.
Yeah.
You can have 30 and be in and out. So, but we will have a discussion next week about the timing and the quorum.
You'll sign the warrant next week.
And can the Finance Committee be prepared to recommend? We do that.
Next
when
week,
yeah.
yeah, we'll, when we go through the warrant next week, we'll be ready to do the recommend.
Okay.
Hopefully, the budget part of this next week will go a little quicker than
be-
tonight. I mean, we,
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, you know.
No, we're getting there.
It always seems insurmountable, and then somehow you always get there. So, with a lot of hard work by
Yeah.
a lot of people, so that's great. Okay, so I think we're done with these folks, and we'll just revisit these 3 quick, right, matters that we need to take up.
Okay.
Okay, so you're okay if we go home?
Feel free to
You
go
don't have to go
home.
home.
Yeah, you can stay. You don't want to
But
stay?
you can leave, but you don't have to go home.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
You guys have done a great job. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Almost there.
Thank you.
Almost there.
You too. What's left of it?
Okay, Marlene.
All right, so we did not do anything with Billings Way property, correct?
No, we did not.
Okay.
Took it all up.
We received, the town received 1 proposal in response to the town's request for RFPs. And Harrison Bardwell Farm submitted a proposal, and he identifies in his proposal the land usage and crops for growing. And then he also outlines the public benefit and support and services that he will provide. He is proposing $50 an acre.
Okay.
And the proposal has been reviewed by the Agricultural Commission.
Yep.
And they recommend accepting this. So I bring this forward to you on behalf of the Ag Committee.
Well, he's a good steward of the land.
He's done a very good job in the past.
He's just doing great things for his farm and for our community. So I think this is, I have no problem with this. I think it's great.
Yep, I agree. Just in the form of my motion, is this just?
It's a 1 year.
It is a 1 year.
One
Okay.
growing season.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the licensing at Billings Way for Harrison Bardwell.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And also, I just have a MassWorks grant report update. The quarterly report and a reimbursement request was submitted. And currently, we have expended $1,321,000, that should be a comma there, $554.82. Is Phil still here?
Yep.
He is. Okay, Phil, the status of that project, is that underway?
What's that?
The Route 5 project? Because I thought it was starting, I know there was a little delay because of temperatures. Okay. Somebody called and inquired about when it would be starting.
Mike's Clerk of Works,
'Cause
Mike Old's
we've gotta
Clerk
get
of
going.
Works is
We've got to get going on that project.
down there and doing his thing.
Like I said, all they're doing is dewatering now.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
You know, the key for that is to keep those residents informed of where we are with
Yeah,
the
this
status.
gentleman was looking for an update because he had thought it was going to start, and I did let him know that the rain we had, what was that, over a week ago, and the temperatures.
Yeah.
And I let him know, reminded him that, you know, Mass DOT regulates, you know.
And I agree, and that's all true, but we told all the residents that were here that night, you will hear from us when, you will hear from somebody, the engineering firm, when we're ready to start again. And when we're near your house, you're gonna get a call or a knock on the door, and we just need to fulfill our obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, I did have an email from the engineer that talked about, because of all the rain, they had to dewater. And also, he was out on site, I understand,
Right.
this week with the contractor checking out everything too, so.
Excellent.
They were supposed to start this week if they could.
Good.
All right.
Thanks for that update, Ed.
Yeah, appreciated.
The Hazard Mitigation Plan 2021 update, that has been closed out with MEMA, and we received official notification from FEMA of, we had been told that it was the plan had been approved, but FEMA had to give us their official notification once we closed out the report and submitted our request for reimbursement. And the plan had been approved by the select board.
Right.
Adopted, I
Thank you
should
again,
say.
and to everybody else, but you in particular, Marlene, that's a lot of time and effort that you put in.
Who was the fire
And
chief?
Bob,
And Bob,
the
I'm
police
sorry, I didn't
chief
mean to leave
was
anybody. I mean,
involved
it was a
in
team
yeah.
effort, but,
That
you know, a
was-
few of you really were,
Yep.
you know, doing a lot of the work. So we appreciate that.
It was a big piece of work.
Yeah, necessary too,
Yeah.
but, you know.
So until the next time, right?
Which will probably come up quicker than you think.
Well, at this point, it's less than 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I had.
That's it?
That's it.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Thank you, everybody, for your input.
Aye.
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 Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, John.
Big meeting.